Press start.
Fun fact: the second Lego movie, Ron Swanson was the pirate.
He was.
Ron
Fun fact.
Yeah, Nick
Holy.
Offerman. Yep. He's a man of
I'm
many
gonna
talents.
type all the words I know. Butthole.
But America, Monday. He's great.
Ron
He's
Swanson
the
represents the best of all of us. Let's all just agree on that.
He does. He absolutely does.
Let's just agree on that right now. Let's get that out of the way.
Absolutely.
Well, let's start episode 139. We are right in the thick of things in terms of game releases for this. I guess you could call this the holiday season, the fall season, whatever you want to call it. Like, I typically think of this like end of October through end of November as like the holiday release window, but whatever. But a lot of games that came out last week that we touched on briefly. We'll get some updated impressions on those, especially on stuff like Gotham Knights and Plague Tale, which I know a couple of us have finished both of those games, or at least progressed much farther in them. And then also Bayonetta 3 released this week. We'll talk about that, and then anything else that you guys have. So we'll go through all of it. If there's time,
there's a few movies and shows that came out too that I want to touch on.
Yep,
I think.
my wife and I watched the new Netflix one last night too. We'll talk about. So
Nice.
Maybe I should put it in the notes here.
Was it the one that I mentioned in the chat, the animated one, or
no?
No,
but that one
watched
does
something different. Cool. Okay.
That one does look really good, though. I want to watch
It's
that.
very good. Yeah.
The Key.
The Key and Peele one. Yeah.
Yeah, the Key and Peele one.
Are we going to talk about how everything blew up in the ex-Bayonetta voice actor's face?
Yeah,
Are we
okay.
gonna talk about that?
Oh
Definitely talk
yes.
about that.
Just really, just boom, right all up in her face.
No, that's not.
No,
interesting.
oh, okay, my bad, Kyle. My bad, Kyle.
No, that's like my favorite story. It's best story since Johnny Depp Amber Heard, guys. Best
You're right. It's the best Johnny Depp Amber Heard. Like, where's our drama? Here it is.
Yeah,
Here's the
here it
drama.
is.
We found
I
it.
don't. No, let's not go there. Let's not go.
We found it. All right. Well, we're going to talk first about Bayonetta 3. This is a game that just came out this week, and I have regrettably not had as much time yet with it as I'd like. I played a little bit, like the opening and the prologue, but just barely scratched the surface, and I need to spend more time with it. For me personally, it's because I just finished Bayonetta 2, so I was wrapping that up first. Even though Bayonetta 3 was out, I had it downloaded. It was just sitting there waiting because I wanted to wrap up 2. And I'm very aware that, and you guys confirm this in this chat, I'm very aware that the story is not so directly connected that you can't follow it. Like, it's not like you start up Bayonetta 3 and there's huge spoilers. There's been games like that where if you fire up a game and you didn't play the first one or whatever, the one previous, it's going to spoil things majorly. This is not the case. It's very much a separate story, same universe, same characters, obviously, but very, very different. So anyway, I was pulling to Dan. I just wanted to finish the second game before I started the third one. Right, Dan? Yeah, Dan approves.
That's the only way to do it.
That's the only way to do it. So I can say this, coming right out of the second game, right into the third game, I noticed immediately how much things were upgraded, and you guys who have played it a little more than I have can talk a little more about this, but I thought that the visuals and just the overall performance of the game just so much improved. It looks so good. The art design and style is all still there. It's just kind of everything's upgraded a little bit sharper. It's still on the Switch, so there's still limitations. Like, there's still moments that I'm like, well, this would probably look even better on a current gen or
backgrounds and textures are pretty rough.
Yes.
But like,
Textures.
I don't know if I'm like showing up for a game like this to be like, oh, look at these blades of grass. You know, the game's really fast paced. You know, it's hard to sit there and watch stuff.
Totally agree with that. So I wanted to point that out, that it is just another great step forward in terms of performance and visuals, but it is a lot of the same as well. So if you were like, something about the style and the dialogue and the way they kind of do like these freeze frames, and they even like break the fourth wall at times, like they do all kinds of like cheesy and funny stuff that I think is very clever. If you didn't like that, this game has a lot more of that already.
Yeah, I would even say they lean into it more this time.
Do they?
You know,
Okay,
so,
yeah.
So if you don't like that stuff, yeah, it's very here.
Yep. So I like it so far, but I'm very, very early. Anybody else played it more than like the prologue, a couple chapters in maybe? I know, Kyle, you played it some.
A couple chapters in, yeah. I really like the first level a lot, like where you end up like, and this is not a spoiler, but like you end up like riding your like summon or whatever through this like super bombastic like action sequence or whatever, and that was really cool. And I hope there's more stuff like that because it was just a really visual kind of fun time. I was just smiling like a goofball the entire time it was happening. And I immediately they're like, hey, this is a multiverse story. So like instantly you're in this game learning about like how this multiverse works, because that's the new thing in entertainment right now. But it's really fun. I haven't seen how that's gonna play out. I imagine you're gonna meet other Bayonettas and stuff like that. But like if that's where it's leading to, that's gonna be a lot of fun. Gotta agree with Tim. I think the combat's super awesome this time around. I mean, it's more of what we like, but like just everything just feels better, and then they added on this whole new level of summoning. So instead of just your summons working for like executions, like now you can have them out on the field. And it's all about planting yourself in a really proper place so you don't get hit, and putting your summon in between all the bad guys and stuff like that to make sure that you're not disrupted, because Bayonetta's got to dance naked while the summon's out, so
obviously.
And otherwise you lose me. I'm out.
So it's
and
fun.
by the way, she does dance like this too.
She does
yeah.
Just like that.
I just smile when she does that. Like legit,
So
she's
dumb.
in like this big chaotic boss fight. This is at the beginning of the game. Big chaotic boss fight, and she just starts doing this.
Just grooving, dude. Yeah,
I'm like,
it's
what
so
are
fun.
you doing?
And she's
Like,
doing lots
so
of
stupid.
kissing at the screen and lots of. I just love
But dude,
it.
it's because
yeah,
it's so it is so stupid. But it's honestly, it's part of what makes me freaking love games, because it's
absolutely. It's just oozing with personality, man.
Don't belong. It's just like I love it, man.
And you have like that annoying like guy the New Yorker guy who's like her short little.
Joe.
And like
Joe
he's
Pesci
just
guy.
Enzo, or he's Joe Pesci.
Pesci.
Exactly what he is. Yeah.
Joe Pesci.
And he's
Yeah,
just
because at the
so
beginning he's all
hilarious,
upset
man.
about
Tickets.
his opening day game ticket. He's all mad about those. Yeah.
Yeah, right. The apocalypse came, and it was game day.
I was gonna watch my baseball team.
Yeah. It's just
Hey, how you
it's
doing?
just it's just like everything is just is brought up to like 11 in this game, which it's a series that's always been at 11, but like it's just
Is the voice actor of Rodon, is that Lee from okay, I was like, this guy's voice sounds very familiar.
He is very hardworking.
He's
voice
prolific,
actor, that guy.
man. He's all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean,
But you can
this
catch his
game
voice.
is
You
probably
just
game
recognize
of the
his
year
tone.
just for his alpha outfit in the very beginning.
It's so dumb. I
So
love
good,
it,
dude. He's
And
got
he's
like
riding that
plushy
van
backpacks
around
and stuff.
on. He's like running waves basically.
It's
driving
the
that
way
van around. So
the
dumb.
way he talks while he's wearing that ridiculous outfit. Hey, Bayonetta. He's so alpha.
So it's
Yeah,
just Derek, the video game character.
I want to get Derek one of these plushy backpacks and see if he can pull it off.
In the second one, he's just constantly throwing puns at you. Like you'll give him one of those records, and he'll disappear for a while and come back all covered in blood, saying he had to like dispatch this soul or whatever. And they put up a fight this time, so he's got a lot of that. But he also has all these puns, just nonstop pun. He'll even say like, "You got to give me a minute to get my cheesy line in, Bayonetta." Like he'll even say that about his own dialogue. And I love it.
I love the whole vibe of this game because of stuff like that, and it's just it's exactly what I wanted it to be, and I just can't wait to sit down and like play it.
Guys, it's more Bayonetta. If you're a fan of the franchise, you're really gonna like this game.
And it's better.
they weren't going out of their way to reinvent anything, even though I'd argue that adding in the summoning stuff, like it totally changes
that is a big
the flow
deal, and I didn't
of
know
battle,
that. I didn't know about that.
It's just completely in every way it changes it.
Yeah,
so
it does, yeah.
And knowing when to bring it out and which summon, because you switch between 3 of them, like it's not like it's a puzzle combat or anything like that, but like it's just like there's a right way to do stuff, and like figuring that out, it feels good, so and I just love this game so much, and I can't wait to play it more. I don't know, I'm assuming it's about as long as the other one, so gonna hit that
I think this one has 14 chapters, and there's like side missions in between that don't have verses. That's what I looked up, so it is kind of short. And you have a ton of optional verses that you can just miss, which I've missed so many already.
Wow, this says 13 and a half hours main story. There is no time for main and sides, and no time for.
I'm here for that.
That'd be longer than both of the.
I bet that the optional verses are just like, I think they're, at least so far, most of them are like pads you just walk up to and just interact with, and then you get teleported and you.
So they're like the secret rooms in Devil May Cry.
Those take like a minute and a half, so it's not adding a whole lot of time to your gameplay session, pretty much.
So only 12
and you can just skip them
so far, but still 13 hours. The other one, I beat Bayonetta 2 in like 8 hours.
That's a real short game, yeah. So good, I'm excited. If we're not going to get another Bayonetta ever again, or for a long time, like stay your welcome a little bit here, and let me sink into it a little bit.
I think a lot of people were a little concerned, understandably so, that hey, it's been 8 years, I think, since the last one, And not only for the game development and the developers being different and the team not being exactly the same and the technology being changed, but also, I mean, culture's changed too. A lot of people were just wondering, like, what is Bayonetta in 2022 going to look like? Is it going to be what we remember?
Kotaku thinks of it. That's all we.
Specifically, that, Jason Schreider.
I know that Polygon had some issues with her being sexualized, but whatever.
Well, it wasn't there.
This game or just in history?
This one, they were disappointed that it let her down as a character, basically. But
I saw. I think it was
either sexualized in this than the other ones, but
yeah,
I know.
Okay. I didn't notice it immediately.
Guys, we all need to grow.
Dan, what were you saying?
I was saying there's a scene where she kisses somebody and everyone was freaking out because it's like, well, isn't Bayonetta supposed to be a lesbian? So now they're like forcing me to watch her, like, and it's like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like,
is she supposed to be?
I don't know, but the point is somebody is saying that
she's never been on a date with anybody. So like, anybody who goes, she's a lesbian.
Never any of that.
Dude, that's the internet, guys. That's the internet.
She seems to be very aware that everyone's into her, but she doesn't seem to be into anybody else, and I love that.
Yeah.
I'm like, go for it.
Yeah, same here, Tim. That's exactly like she just doesn't give anybody the time of day, but everybody thinks
she doesn't care about.
Dude,
she's
a
right.
She's an absolute tease, and that's kind of part of what makes her character so likable. To be honest with you, is the way that but she's not like. I don't know. She doesn't ever seem like smitten with anybody else. Like even that main Luca guy who's in both the first two games pretty prominently. Like she doesn't care. Even though he's head over heels for her, she's just a tease, and I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, I think it's funny. Yeah, but Polygon's right. So sorry, guys.
Yeah, she's Polygon's right. She's cheeky. That's part of the that's definitely part of the charm and the humor of the game. It's supposed to be like, you cheeky bastard, hello, what a cheeky, hello. Sure. So yeah.
And by the way, speaking of the accent, It actually didn't strike me until I actually like consciously thought about it. I was like, oh, this is a different voice actress. That's right. I couldn't tell. Like
I think I said this last week, but if not for all this drama, I would have never known.
I wouldn't have known. I'll be honest with you.
You just played them back to back. The last time I played.
I just played two, and it sounds a lot like her. And maybe not identical, but it sounds so much like her.
I mean, Jennifer Hale is a professional, so.
Well, and Bayonetta's more of a vibe than a sound. You know what I mean? Exactly. So like if you're nailing into a whole like the demeanor, the cadence, and like you're in the ballpark of the voice, I think it all just bleeds together, because she's doing a Bayonetta impression. She didn't take the character and make it her own. You know what I mean? Like it's very much so carrying the torch of what came before. So
I still think it's impressive that she was able to do it, whether she's a professional or not, because it's much easier for somebody to go, we want you to play this character, make it your own. Than it is for somebody to go, this is a character that is already.
You need to meet it
established.
You need to meet its level. Like you have to figure out how to mimic this.
I totally agree.
So I actually think, again, playing Bayonetta 2, and now jumping into 3, if it wasn't for the drama, I would have had no clue who was.
Oh, you're saying you wouldn't have known? Yeah,
No,
absolutely, same here.
I thought they were the same character because you can like now I'm listening to it. Like when I started the game, I was like, I want to hear because I'm trying to find the difference. And I'm like, it's super subtle. I'm talking super subtle. I'm like, maybe I can hear it. But if you don't know about the drama at all and you don't look up anybody's name, you just play the game, there's no way you'll know.
There's no way you'll know.
It's Bayonetta. It's Bayonetta.
I totally agree with that.
Sultry British lady voice. Got it. Like it's
right.
Which a little baritone. Another reason I love her. That's another reason why I love her. I love like her personality, all that stuff, but I love the voice acting. I love the character that they created. She's very unique.
Every encounter, first game, second game, and from what I've played so far, I assume it'll continue in the third game. She just has this like smirk and casualness of like, we're about to have this to the death battle, and one of us is going to get ripped to shreds. But she's just super cash about it, and I love it. I love it, man. Again, that's where the Devil May Cry 5 vibes also were so successful for me in that game because it was like, there's incredible violence, and every encounter could be life or death, but they're just kind of like shrugging it off with this overly cocky.
Oh yeah, that's what I love about that series too.
Do like finger guns at the audience constantly. You know what I mean?
I mean, at one point, what is it? Isn't he like fighting a bunch of demons, like eating pizza naked? Like Dante, doesn't he do that?
Yeah.
Like it's like
maybe
come
they
on.
do it again in 5, but that's that's one of my favorite openings in any game ever.
Yeah, it's just
again, happens. Like these two, and they're both made by Hideki, right? Like, am I off on that? Bayonetta and Devil May Cry?
I think it's different dudes. I think it is. I'll look it up.
Okay.
I'll look it up. We have the technology.
They do introduce some new characters here. They're are some new characters here who very much have they fit in with the Bayonetta world, but they gave me a strong Devil May Cry vibe right away when they first introduced them in that opening.
Oh yeah, the blonde chick looks like she's from DMC. For sure.
Straight out of DMC.
Oh, all right. So it is Hideki.
Sometimes
let's not question Kyle.
Don't question Batman.
Question me constantly, but this time I was right.
I would love it if you actually had like a Batman beanie, like the two little things on the top of the
yeah, right.
Like,
swear to me.
Yeah, but they have that same vibe though. They're both like you're fighting heaven and hell. You get demons and angels.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
At some point, you fight like human bioweapons, which is kind of what Bayonetta 3 is about. Like the humans wanted to get on the levels of the gods and created these new things. So it's like
speaking of bioweapons,
he got to make his game series twice with a guy and a girl, which and Trojan horsed it in, and we all think of it as different things, but they're very very similar, like vibe wise and stuff like that. So.
Oh, I do want to add, again, I'm not far into the game. This is just a little thing for me that I care about. Not that the enemies in the prior games were like terrible. You can still rip them to shreds and there's blood and stuff like that. I'm not big on games where you're fighting like big robots and stuff like that. I've never liked it. Like, what was it, Gears of War 4? Like the first third of the game you're fighting robots.
It's mostly robots, yeah.
Right in the beginning, yeah.
I like the enemies at the beginning of this game so much better. Like they're kind of like they feel like they're like aliens that bleed green or whatever, and I like that. So I like that. I feel like I'm fighting more of like a human demon than a robot demon. So
yeah, I agree.
Just a minor thing, but something I like.
And Bayonetta's hair changed again. So
I
like how her hair changes every game, and I
did like the short hair, the hot girl summer haircut in the second one. But,
I did like that one a lot. That was very applicable to that time. But this one with her long pigtails, I really like this one a lot too. I think
the long pigtails. Yeah,
she's hot no matter what.
Yeah,
pretty looking lady.
Yeah. And I do love the way that she just completely, pretty much verbally abuses without totally verbally abusing her little Joe Pesci friend. Like even that opening scene as he's always in the middle doing something. Like in the second one he was Christmas shopping, and in this one he's getting ready to go to the game, and she just ruins his plans. She just completely wrecks his plans.
Friends like these, am I right?
I love it. Anyway, I'm looking forward to playing more of this now that I just wrapped up 2. It was actually late last night, and so I played a little bit of 3, but I was really tired. Played it a little more this morning, so I'm barely into it. But right away, I was like, and even in the little like practice loading screen, which is kind of handy actually, you can practice your combos and stuff.
Definitely practice there. Yeah, I found, and they even give you like
it's smoother.
Try this combo.
It's much more smooth than the third one. Like right away, the list and the way that it kind of shows you what you're doing or not doing correctly right away is much smoother. So I like it.
Yeah, very deep combat system too. It always has been, but it feels like it just bottomless now. So like I need to unlearn how to just take the 2 or 3 that I really like and really mix it up a little more, because like there's a lot of really cool stuff to see in this game that are buried in the combos. So
yep, absolutely. And the second one did introduce a whole lot of different weapons. And I haven't played enough of 3 to know if a lot of weapon variety is here as well.
Yeah, same here. I wish I could speak on that. Yeah, okay. I imagine the weapons are going to get crazy. I don't think you can put them on every different appendage now. I think you just equip the weapon like Devil May Cry style.
In the second one, you like here's your arms and here's your feet weapons. Basically, like you could attach these whips to your feet and then these like fire guns to your hands and totally do different combos.
See, and I know people were worried that got taken away, but from what I understand in the reviews, people were like, "Oh, all the changes are for the better." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. So far, this game is awesome. The whole franchise has just been a blast to play through. So, especially if you like those fast-paced Devil May Cry style action games, you owe it to yourself to play these. And start with the first one. Like play the first one on PC or on Switch. It runs and looks great. Either way, it's fine. And then
so play them in order is what you're saying.
I think you should, but you don't have to. There's a lot of lore that even if you don't understand it, the game's still a blast. But if you get into the lore, it's actually quite interesting if you're curious about that stuff. But you don't need it. I mean, just like with Devil May Cry, you don't have to understand the story of Devil May Cry to enjoy that game start to finish.
In fact, I've played 5 twice now. I couldn't tell you what happens in that game.
Yeah.
Well, the timeline of the Devil May Cry games is completely out of order.
2 is the last. It's still like the last one of the series, right?
Yeah.
It's Fast and the Furious rules, guys.
It's about family. It's about family.
Yeah, that too.
As long as family's involved. Hey, is anyone playing the Resident Evil Village new content just dropped?
Yes.
Rose, right? Is that the name of it?
Yes.
Dan, you said you are?
Yeah, I have like an hour left of it. It's not super long. It's about 3 hours altogether.
This is the DLC with I won't say who it is, but it's a new character, right? Is that spoiler to say who it is?
No, because it's in the name, Shadow and Rose.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the trailer was the trailer was literally like, here, that's what this is. It's this person. Right. So I mean, you don't know.
If we talk about the story, sure, it could spoil it, but
yeah,
I'm only an hour in, and there's not all you know is that something weird happens, and you end up in the Lady D's castle. And you have this special ability. That's it. And then you're trying to figure out, like, something's talking to you. This magical spirit is talking to you and trying to guide you and help you. And you're just trying to get rid of this special ability. That's why you're there. That's all I know so far. I don't know anything else. I do think it's good DLC just because I like going back to the castle. I thought that was a good call by them. Because in the main game, you're in the castle for probably a third of the game, but I still would have liked. For me, like Resident Evil games, almost every one of them work this way. They have the best place that you're in the beginning, and then they kind of like the standards drop as you go through the games.
The lab, you end up in the lab or something.
Yeah,
right?
and so
but even like back to Resident Evil 2, like the police station's obviously the best part of that game.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, like arguably, I guess, not maybe obviously, but yeah, you're right, Derek. I never really.
So I like that they're bringing me back, and I don't think I'm alone. There's a reason they picked this. They're bringing us back to the place where I think most of us who loved 8 want to be in more of. And so I thought, so far, again, I'm only an hour in. Sounds like Dan's further than me because it is only like a 2.5, 3 hour DLC. But I'm enjoying it. Like, once you get your gun and then you have your special ability, and you're kind of cleaning out enemies and stuff. And these enemies are pretty aggressive too. So it's been a fun time so far. Some good scares too.
What kind of enemies are you fighting? Are they the same, like molded, or?
They actually look like they're from Resident Evil 7.
7, yeah. Oh,
okay.
So that's sort of what's fun. I guess what's fun about the story. It's more connected. It's kind of going back to 7 a bit, where it's trying to connect everything, right? Because like if 7 is really the beginning point of this story here with the character that's in 7 and 8, Ethan Winters. And then in this game, you're playing a different individual called Rose. But it's basically utilizing that whole mold thing, and like I guess with the mold, it's almost like a hive mind sort of thing.
Yeah.
So everything is connected to that mold, and that's sort of the connection that's spearheading this game because this individual there's a connection there, trying to be as vague as I can be.
The story is really wacky, this Ethan Winters arc.
Yeah.
It's very wacky. Yeah. It's hard to talk about it while we're dancing around spoilers for sure.
Basically, there's a connection to that whole mold thing, and that's why this person does, like Derek said, mention powers. And then, basically they kind of end up inside of like she's basically seeing these environments that were in Village, which to me, it's like, okay, so like I agree and well, not disagree, but like this is why I don't play DLC that much, because I feel like a lot of times it's like, all right, cool, so you're just reusing the same assets because it's just you're tacking it on, you're reusing the same assets because I get it, it's more cost efficient to do that, but I kind of would have liked to just see her like do her own thing, like completely fresh, if I had sort of me deciding that,
like a full separate game.
Yeah, like her going on her own little adventure in a new area, like something new, as opposed to just retreading the same thing. I mean, that being said, Lady D's castle is super cool.
It's a great designed, like whole area is well designed.
Yes. Yeah. And obviously, I don't want to say too much more as far as environments because Derek isn't there yet. But I mean, it's not super long. There's definitely, like you said, there's good scares. There's actually even more later, Derek, so please be prepared for that. It's definitely.
I will play it during the day.
Yeah, please do. I mean, I like it. I'm not like blown away by it, but like I'm enjoying it. And I'm interested to see, because they've said that this is like the conclusion of the Winters story. So it's like, all right, well, let's see what that means, and I'm curious to see.
I'm happy about that for one reason, because like I was kind of afraid that the next Resident Evil was going to be about this person who had superpowers. And I'm like, that's not what I played these years. Like now they're the movies, Now you're playing Alice, So it's nice that you're kind of getting this like nice bookended story that's like tying up why this is the way it is without like burning a numbered series entry. So
yeah,
I feel like and I don't know, they definitely seem to focus on certain, like Leon and like Chris and Jill. I kind of want some more Claire. They need to put Claire back in there, I think.
Claire's great, yeah. Well, with their reluctance to even want to do like a remake of
Code Veronica,
like it's kind of weird how anti-Claire they feel sometimes, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I kind of like the OG cast, if we can wrap up these people, which I didn't really mind the Ethan Winters story, to be honest. It was wacky enough where I'm like, this is interesting enough.
I like the story.
For being a guy like you don't have any connection with because you never see his face, you're kind of like, it's a disconnected story, but
well, it ramps up, right? Because the 7th one felt like more grounded, at least at the beginning. Of course, it gets crazy, but at the beginning, it feels more grounded compared to my other Resident Evil experiences. And then of course it gets out of control real quick, and then 8 gets out of control almost right away, just in terms of like, we're going full fantasy crazy with a lot of this stuff. And then mild spoilers, but he gets his hand really messed up, sometimes even removed
so many times.
Like, it's like, what's going on with your hand?
And believe me, there's a story reason for it, which is crazy. Yeah, I never thought that they were going to figure out some way to explain that. I'm like,
they did a good job of like bringing us through, like, hey, he's just a normal guy who lost his wife in the bayou, and it's like, well, it gets crazier from there. Like, it's
right. It's much crazier.
Yeah.
You're collecting body parts for most of the game, so
I think it's worth. I mean, I paid $15 because I bought it on PC from CDPs. I think it's worth the money because not only
$20 full price.
Yeah, so the DLC is short, but I honestly bought it because I wanted third person.
Yeah, so you get third person of the full RE8 game, right?
Yeah.
And then what else did they give you as part of the DLC?
So they also added more to Mercenaries, more characters and stuff like that. I will say, is Mercenaries like co-op at all? Because I tried to play it.
It wasn't before, but maybe it is now. I don't know. I thought I saw someone going like, "Hey, there's co-op now."
It looks like it's single player, and I was kind of bored with it. I played
check on that. I know when 8 released, it was single player because I never played it because I was like, "Well, this is a co-op mode to me." Because I used to play Mercenaries.
Play with somebody else. Yeah.
Like in 5, mostly I played Mercenaries, and
that's where I played.
That was co-op, So it's like I kind of. It's synonymous with co-op to me. So when it launched, I was like, I'm not gonna even check that out.
Yeah.
Even though I kind of like those like quick arcade runs. Like it's a good mode. It's fun to share with somebody. I played a couple of matches and it was decent. It's not like it's not fun. It's got good action and it's you're getting pushed to like hit a high score and get to the end of the level. So it's fun. But I was like, I didn't see an option. Maybe I just missed it because I did it real quick. Like, I don't see an option to join somebody else's game or have somebody join mine. I was like, that's kind of lame. But there is Mercenaries. There's third-person view in the campaign. In the DLC, it is third-person. And it does change the game. Like, I get why... we're not going to get into this debate because we got plenty of other stuff to talk about. I get why people don't like the first-person view, but I also understand why the creators make it that way. It is more horrifying to go through these games playing in first-person view, but as an old-school Resident Evil fan, and all my favorites were third-person, I like that this is an option to play. Cool. I like that you have both. Yeah, I like.
And I think going forward, I don't think they'll do it, but I think going forward, they really should make the games that way, where they're like, we want you to play first-person, but we're going to give you options.
Yeah. Yeah, unless it's a storytelling element too, I suppose, in some way, shape, or form. But
no co-op for Mercenaries.
Okay, so I didn't add that. So still,
that's kind of lame. But again, that's not why I bought it. I bought it for the DLC and the third person. I think it's worth the $15-$20, whatever you end up paying for it.
Was there as like a season pass or digital deluxe edition? Some people might have and already have this.
The gold edition, so it comes.
They just released the gold edition. Oh, okay. So regardless, you have to pay more to get access to this. Either you have to buy the DLC or buy
I think the gold edition's $50 if you don't own the game. So it's basically like you're getting Resident Evil for $30.
And this game's a year and a half old now, right? And so chances of it having a really good holiday sale are quite high on some platform.
So, yeah. I think it was just on sale on Steam, like just a couple weeks ago. So
I wouldn't be surprised to see it on Steam sale. It'll be on Steam sale. It'll be on probably your PlayStation, Xbox store sales, I would imagine. So a good one to keep an eye on if you're kind of holding off for a sale. Capcom.
It's actually on sale now.
Oh, okay.
Oh well, there you go.
Nice.
Yeah, it's $29.99. It's 25% off.
Sweet.
Normal price is $40.
And by the way, if you're listening or watching this and you haven't played Resident Evil 8, it is fantastic. And that's coming from someone, myself, who's not always like instantly day one Resident Evil games, but I really enjoyed 7 and I loved 8. So
8 is my favorite.
It's so good. It's so good. Like it was very much like very much vibes of 4, which by the way, that's one of my most anticipated games for 2023. By the way, is the remake.
Yeah, I sweat when I think about that game.
I'm so excited about that.
That Chainsaw Man in the beginning, holy, that guy,
yeah,
he's a maniac.
Light cows on fire, guys.
It's gonna be great. Hey, is anyone playing Star Ocean: The Divine Force?
I was really considering picking this up, but apparently it plays like garbage on Steam Deck. So I'm like, nah, I'm not playing this then.
Okay, so you're holding off.
I'm really reluctant now, and I'll wait a while. I don't think I'm necessarily.
If you buy that game before you buy Xenoblade Chronicles 3,
I didn't want to say it, but I
find out where you live.
No, first of all,
come and kill you.
You're never gonna find out. You don't even know how to fix your computer issues, minor computer issues sometimes. So you're never gonna find
out. Can you hear me?
I will hire somebody.
The voice acting, that main character not only looks like a douchebag with his dumb mullet, but the way he was talking and
loud.
It's just his voice. It's not poor quality. It's just the way he talks just annoyed the crap out of me. And I'm usually not like that, but I felt like Derek levels of annoyed with how this guy was talking. Like I'm just like, I was hard out. I played like 30 minutes of the demo and.
It's getting good reviews weirdly. So
yeah. Where's the demo?
It's probably on.
Oh, it's just I think it's just everywhere because I have it on PS5. So I mean, again, I'm not gonna never not play it. I'll maybe eventually give it a shot when it's like
on a sale and after some updates. I mean, it's apparently really demanding also on the PC, which was people are like, why is this so demanding? Like it's garbage.
So it's kind of like a Plague Tale thing for some.
Yeah, so like I was even gonna
running so hot.
I was even gonna buy it on my laptop, which should be able to play a game like that, like a kind of a B tier JRPG, and it's like, oh, dude, you gotta get way more RAM than what you got. I'm like, okay, all right.
That's weird.
So I couldn't even like start it on my laptop and throw it to my my deck whenever it got fixed or whatever. So apparently the place to get it is console.
The reviews swayed me to get it at least on a sale, and I'd normally write these types of games off because racist. I'm racist. But the reviews really did sway me, and I watched more gameplay footage, and I was like, this seems like an action type of game that I would.
Yeah,
IGN scored it higher than they did Gotham Knights. If that tells you anything.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Did they really?
This game is getting way better reviews than Gotham Knights for sure.
It's at a 7.
What is this?
Well, and here's the other thing is that like the people were kind of like weirded out on the combat system, but apparently that gets way better. Like the people were like, the demo combat system's not so great, but apparently that gets way better as you go on through the game.
So it's like, what was that? What was the game you just played?
Almost every game does that. It's so weird.
Right?
Yeah, I know. It's almost like you get progression in combat or something.
Asterigos. That's what it was. Asterigos was like the one where you play the demo and it's like.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's probably a good comparison.
I think the issue with this one, from what I remember, some of the previews they were saying in the beginning, you don't have a lot of like. There's like a pool of like a currency of a type of like action points or something.
Yeah, AP,
and in the beginning, you have a low amount of it. So like you do a few attacks and then you can't attack until it replenishes or something. So it's like you're kind of just standing there. And I think I noticed that in the demo because I only did a couple of fights.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of a slow
and that obviously you get more AP as you go along,
right?
So like that becomes less and less of a problem,
Yeah.
They also was another selling point was it's not an 80-hour game; it's like 40 or 50. Like it's not some overstaying that's welcome, obnoxiously big new age JRPG. Like it hits that old school sweet spot of 40 or 50, which is still long, but it's not 100. Persona.
Right.
So
Persona's lovely.
I just said I was going to start Persona 5 Royal, which, by the way, not an idea at this time.
Yeah, no. What are you thinking?
I have
180 hours of gameplay, dude.
Like,
so I'm 40 hours into it on PS4, but I was like, no, I want to play on Steam Deck. This is a handheld game, and I started it, and it's fun and everything, and I will continue to play there. But I looked up how long to beat Persona 5 Royal, and this is minimum. So this isn't
right on us.
100 hours, and I was like, you talk too much. Like that's your problem. You guys talk.
It's literally what the game is. God damn it!
It is a visual novel RPG for sure.
I actually like the reason I like Persona 5. I think it's visually awesome. I love the characters.
Great style.
great style, and I like the combat.
The music is unreal too. The music's
so like the best in the biz, you know.
So. I just don't want you to talk so much. And there are some issues I have, and it'll take me a while to get back into the game. But with like the castles that you invade, dungeons or whatever you want to call them, that you invade, the way some of them are structured, I think on my PS4 playthrough, the reason I stopped is I could not figure out how to progress through one of them. And that's always been an issue with me with these.
I remember us talking about that a few years ago. I remember you having some issues about that.
Yeah. I mean, can I be honest? If you bump that game down to easy, it's such a fun experience. That is a game that like it's like, okay, difficulty wall, you need to sit here and grind for 20 hours, and it's like that's not fun. It's never fun, you know. You drop it down to easy, it makes exploring the castle easier, and I think you'll have an easier time figuring out where to go next because you're not worried about like, oh no, if I get into 3 more fights, I'm not gonna have enough SP to, you know, keep on going through this night or whatever. So
good point.
Just a suggestion for sure.
It's a good point too, because it's not a matter of it making. It's not a matter of it making it easier. It's a matter of making it more fun and accessible.
Well,
some people don't want that.
And maybe shave 20 to 30 hours off. You know.
Well, I already made the decision because I do know the story of the first 40 hours. There is a fast forward option. So I played like 30 minutes of the game, but I probably got through an hour and a half of the game because it's literally going.
Yeah.
And that's it. So I already know the story. I already know what's going on. I'm gonna do that up until the point where I got cut off, and then I'll play the game. So that's my quick way of getting my cross save that I can't get for.
I'm 1,000% gonna get this on Steam Deck when it goes on sale, and I don't have free.
By the way,
RPGs
just
on my
a quick review of it. Looks great so far. Plays fine. I haven't had any like.
On the Steam Deck, you mean?
It was day one verified. Yeah.
Nice.
Steam Deck verified.
I know we talked a little bit about the campaign for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 last week. Any updated thoughts on that campaign or on multiplayer if you've played any of that this week? Because that's out officially now, right? Full
I did finish the campaign. I actually beat it the night that we recorded
last
time. So I went back and I played it and beat it. I mean, I saw some of the reviews. I was kind of surprised, to be honest.
Reviews are pretty harsh on this campaign.
They were very harsh. Yeah.
I didn't understand it. I guess the stuff that I thought was cool, a lot of the reviews, and even I saw Dan in our group, not this Dan, but Dan Phillips, I think, said the same thing, where it was like they introduced stuff, but it didn't stay long enough, so it was kind of dumb. And I was like, okay, I get what you're saying, but I liked it.
Dude, that's what Mario games do all the time. They introduce a new mechanic, and it's only in that level. And boy, was that fun. Let's move on.
And then they're going to, obviously, in my opinion, if they're trying to see if people like it, if they do, they'll bring it in for the, maybe a future campaign. I liked it because it was more, like I said, grounded. I said it last week. It felt like one of their multiplayer, what is it called? Warzone. It has that Warzone feel to it, but it's very intimate. It's just you versus a bunch of enemies, and it's just basically a mini survival map. And I absolutely loved that about it. So for me, I thought the campaign was fun. The story, the conclusion, everything was done well. I thought I'm surprised, honestly, it's anything under an 8. That's how I see it. But again, maybe I just like games too much. Maybe I need to start being a critic and start picking apart everything.
Yeah, please.
Have less fun. Jeez.
Yeah, I would love for you to have less fun.
Gotham Knights is a 5 out of 10. Why? I don't know. It doesn't.
It's a 4 out of 10.
Doesn't have Batman, is that you said?
It's
4 out of 10. Yeah, I agree. I treated the game like an action movie. Like I've been quoting like Price all week and stuff like that. These things take time and violence, and I can do both. Like
that's a great quote to just throw out there in the middle of the day.
It's been fun. Because like there is a lot of machismo like dialogue and stuff like that like really sticks out like a cool action movie, and like that's how I left the experience. It was like, man, I just watched like a 4-hour action movie. Yeah. It was awesome. And
I gotta buckle down and complete. Now that I've beat 2 big games, I gotta big for me at least. I gotta buckle down and beat that campaign because that was
easy
stuff at the very beginning.
What about multiplayer? Anybody tried the multiplayer?
Yeah, I played some multiplayer. Yeah, I've been doing it all weekend because that was I had a friend in from out of town that was on the menu, and so we were landing the best that we could with the servers being the way that they were. But like people were in every room, like on consoles and PCs, like playing this game, and it was fun. This is my first time playing an online Call of Duty since maybe the second Modern Warfare 2. So
oh wow, really?
Whatever, yeah.
For a second.
Yeah. So it's good. I'm actually better at it than I thought I'd be. I was like, oh wow, I thought I was gonna suck really bad at this, but apparently Battlefield turned into Call of Duty at some point, and it kind of brought me up to that more twitchy, fast-paced level of gaming, apparently. So I was surprised by how well I was holding on. It's just Call of Duty, man, at the end of the day. Like, I was having fun because so many people were around having fun.
Yes.
But, like, now that weekend's over, like, I'd be surprised if I jumped on it too much more,
Well, the people get, like, way better at the whatever new stuff they've kind of maybe implemented too, right? So
Yeah, and, like, I'm not used to, like, so I'm still using the M4, like, whatever. What did it start me with? That's what I'm still using, and
sure.
like you're supposed to really like switching guns and unlocking
unlocks
different
like crazy probably.
And
I
just don't.
I don't
just
know
haven't
anything about guns.
Yeah.
I haven't been really engaging in any of that stuff, But there's a new, maybe it's not new, but it's new to me, kind of mode where it is just Battlefield, where it's a much bigger map. It's 3 times the players, a bunch of vehicles and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, this feels like home to me.
Well, that's Warzone then, right?
No, Warzone's not even out yet, and that's something completely different. That is a battle royale, where like the thing. This is just a mode.
Just a large multiplayer mode.
Just a large multiplayer mode.
All right.
Call of Duty, basically.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It is literally just the Battlefield mode. So you're stealing A, B, and C points, and all that stuff. So
I'll have to check that out. Actually, that interests me. So now
it's pretty fun. They have like a lot of really cool like levels and stuff like that. Like one is like the moment from Sicario where you're on the border, like with all the cars, like and that's the level. Like a shootout just happened. Everybody abandoned their cars. You're on a highway, and like. Anybody could be coming from anywhere. People are just coming out of like crevices of cars and stuff like that. It's my favorite level of the thing, but and there's a big mode of that too, where you can get some other vehicles on there and stuff like that.
That honestly sounds more interesting than the Battle Royale. Battle Royale to me is not like, I don't need something coming in like crushing me, some sort of like thing, enclosing. I just want to kind of roam around and just be in the chaos. Like,
see, to me, I would like it if there was like a battle royale mode that didn't have that, where it was just, hey, this is an open world survival. Like you don't have a lot of weapons. I would love it if they got rid of a lot of the ammo and you can find weapons, but you don't have a lot of ammo to make every shot count. Like, I think that would be cool if it was an actual survival mode where there isn't like some looming in thing. It's just one map, find your way around.
Yeah. It sounds like Last of Us or Plague Tale kind of ammo, it deals with ammo, where like you gotta have it selected on the way.
I mean, that's coming out. That multiplayer is coming out. Right? We might be getting that. So I like Battle Royale. I grew up reading the Battle Royale manga and watching the movie. So this whole mode, paying homage to that like old school like franchise, I've always enjoyed that. But like when I say that, the last Battle Royale game I played was. I couldn't tell you what, Fortnite maybe, whenever it came out, and I haven't really played anything since. So I appreciate the mode, but it's not something I go on my way though.
The last times I played Call of Duty multiplayer, probably was 2 games ago, maybe. I can't remember how many. It wasn't that long, but it wasn't recent.
2019 one that we
I think that's the last time I played multiplayer, and I still prefer hardcore mode. Like I like 1 or 2 shots and they're dead. There's something about that I thought was a lot of fun.
I don't even know if that's in this, which is crazy because we played a lot this weekend. I don't remember.
They don't have a hardcore
yeah.
mode?
Maybe, I don't remember ever.
I like doing the objective-based hardcore modes, like Seek and Destroy or Search and Destroy, whatever that one was called.
Hardline.
Those were really fun. And
I like
actually still play that.
Modes better.
I heard there's like a co-op stuff too that I was.
There's Spec Ops. That's the stuff I really want to get to. I want to do some co-op. Yeah.
I was gonna say I actually still like I have that on my PS5. Like I actually still pop in there occasionally and play that. So the multiplayer.
Yeah.
So
nice.
It's fun.
I'm enjoying it though. The levels are cool. A lot of people were having problems getting into groups and playing the game. But like, if you just like hit quick play, you will be in a match and there's no problems. It's just the second you party up, things get finicky. And then if you start introducing crossplay, like you have one person on a PC, like in your PS5 party, like good luck.
Yeah.
But that's all going to get fixed, and it's not so broken that you can't just get in and just play, because you can very much so. It's
that's good.
So, again, they've been doing this a long time. They know what they're doing.
Say, at least they know how to do it.
Crossplay's pretty new. That's not a streamlined feature yet for any game, and I think crossplay has problems in every game at launch. So, in a few years, that will be kind of secondhand, but right now it's still kind of a new implementation. So, I'm having a lot of patience for it.
Because you can't really turn it off on a couple of things. I think only PlayStation allows you to turn off crossplay. The rest doesn't.
Of course, Sony allows that. Of course,
of course. Sony's like, shut that gate, man.
The option is called get rid of all the piggies, all the dirties on the other consoles when it deletes them.
Jimmy Ryan is just sitting there with his finger.
Yeah,
Jimmy Ryan's just sitting there with his finger hanging over the button.
Option that says segregation, yes or no. That's what it says.
Yep. Elysium style. Yeah.
I know that we talked about it a lot last week, so we don't have to get too much more into it. But I did finish A Plague's Tale Requiem. I think Derek and Jeff have both finished it too.
Yes. Yeah.
We don't have to get too far into it. We talked about it a lot last week, but in general, I just want to throw out there that hey, this is certainly in my game of the year list. I don't know exactly where, but it's challenging stuff like Horizon and Elden Ring that are two of my favorites from this year. It is one of those that's very memorable. It's certainly not perfect technically, or even with some of the character moments, but overall, so high quality. Like no game's perfect, and I just thought this one was really, really excellent, and just loved it.
Definitely has to be in my top 10, and I really actually do want to do like a spoiler cast. I think the story and the game is one of those that
there's a lot to talk about.
Spoiler cast needs to happen,
and there is there's a good tease too at the end. So
for what could happen next.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot to dive into on a spoiler cast for sure.
But overall, you guys still I know it wasn't Derek, maybe some of the characters weren't always your favorite, but overall you seem to really like it. Like a good 8 out of 10 type of 8 out of 10.
I think it's gotta be an 8.5, 9.
Yeah.
There's a few levels
9 out of 10 for sure.
I didn't like.
I agree. There's some level design that, I kept comparing it to Naughty Dog, and one of the biggest things I didn't say was, I think over the years, if you go back to the original Uncharted games, there are areas that are frustrating because the level design wasn't quite sharp. But when you get to the more modern The Last of Us 2 and Uncharted 4 games and Uncharted Lost Legacy, it's like, dude, they've perfected the way to create areas to make it fun, almost no matter which way you go. And this Plague Tale,
these guys are still learning about how to structure
and it's mostly good, but there are levels. There were probably a handful that I was like, all right, this area is annoying, because they're
actually, believe it or not, early on in the game, chapter 2 is when I was like, all right, this is annoying, and then what didn't happen again until chapter 10, where it forces you into encounters that you may not be ready for if you didn't upgrade the right things in advance. So
it's those little things that I'm like, hey, with some fine tuning, with some kind of I would call that polish, where you're just trying to figure out better ways to tweak all the different knobs of the systems that you've created to make it, really well balanced. But anyway, in general, I
don't know if they'll do it, but I would absolutely love it if the third one went full Last of Us, where it's still a survival, almost like each map's a puzzle. You're limited on ammo and stuff like that. But I would love for her to become more offensive,
like Ellie in Last of Us 2.
Because they are progressing her as a character like Ellie too, so it's totally reasonable and feasible that they could do that, and that's what I would like.
I agree.
That's my personal thing. If they decide, no, we want to go back to the roots of the first one, you're going to lose me, but if you keep progressing in this direction, I love this one 10 times more than I like the first one.
Do we feel really strong about this? How good the story was, or is that because I feel like this is a contender for one of the best stories of the year for sure.
I loved this story quite a bit.
Yeah,
personally.
Hugo is so cool. Let me see. Look at the flowers. Shut up. Just shut up.
He's 7 years old or something, right?
Rat bastard. Just shut up.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, that actually applies really well.
That actually applies.
Hey, rat bastard.
No, I thought the story was phenomenal.
Yeah, there's a moment.
The story was so well told.
Yeah, I know. They crafted the story really well and revealed the lore behind the history of this, whatever you want to call it, disease, bloodline thing. Yep. They revealed the history of it. The way they paced all that out is just brilliant to me.
I kept almost calling it
some of it's a little on the nose, but
I thought it was good.
The Prima Nocta. No, it's the Prima Macula, I think is the official name of the infection. But I was like, Prima Noctua? That can't be it, right? But I got similar vibes to towards the end of God of War from 2018 when they're looking through all the murals and kind of discovering all the lore secrets that are going on behind the scenes. And
one of my favorite levels is when you're going down. I mean, there's not really a whole lot of combat oriented with it, but you're just going down in a cave and learning about all this history, and you find something that's just a crazy image for this game, and then it leads into one of my favorite type of set pieces that this game offers, where it's just running away from chaos.
Just run.
Just running away. I love those moments. I think they do it like 4 or 5 times in the game, but it never wears out its welcome for me. I love that type of stuff.
Well, because they're not super long, and they're not like one shot die.
They're pretty forgiving. They just want you to experience the moment. They're not trying to punish you. So
There's one fight in Gotham Knights, actually. There's a boss fight where there is a chase section, and I had to replay it like 6 or 7 times because it was so effing annoying. So it's not like that, where it's like, when does this chase section end? It's not like that. It never feels like that in Plague Tale. Like nothing ever really overstays its welcome to me, except Chapter 10. That was a little long, but that's okay. That's honestly, once you get past Chapter 10, it's like, oh, that was the hardest part of the game. Like the rest of it is pretty smooth sailing, honestly.
And some of it was me being a perfectionist on some types of stealth games, where it's like I needed to just let some things go, where it's like they're not giving me a rating at the end of this level. They just want to see how I want to get through. So like I had to, but sometimes I would restart a checkpoint because I'm like, I didn't want to be spotted here. And even though it didn't really affect it, I would have been fine.
I did that a few times too.
But I do that with other games. I do that with Last of Us and stuff too, when I just don't, I'm like, I wanted to sneak through here without getting spotted or whatever, my own personal
like sometimes for me sometimes it's mostly I'll restart a section if it's a dumb mistake I made, where it's like I pressed the wrong button and I revealed myself.
I stood up. I meant to do something else. Right.
Like the dumbest reason to get exposed to an enemy, and it's like, damn it. All right, I'll just restart it. God,
they're pretty forgiving with the checkpoints.
Yeah, they are. They save quite often. They do a checkpoint save quite often.
Well, I had a good time with that game, and it's one of those ones where I kind of just took a big breath when I was done. Like, okay, that game's over, and like, do I want to dive into something, or do I want to just kind of sit here and play like solitaire for a minute? Like, I just needed like that palate cleansing because it's a big experience,
It's dark,
it's very dark
material too.
So then it's probably 2 or 3 days later.
There's no time for any of that.
There's no time.
You gotta jump into another game, otherwise you'll never make it.
That's why I'm grateful I was playing something as comic booky as Gotham Knights, even though it is darker,
let's talk
superhero
about
material.
At least 2 of you have finished it now, right?
I
think it's just
halfway through.
I'm very close. I'm like in the last.
Okay, but you guys have played a lot more of it.
Kyle, if you're at the tower,
I'm probably 40-something hours into this game.
All right, let's talk about Gotham Knights. Your updated thoughts on this game.
Yeah, Kyle, if you're at the tower, you have like 1 case left after that mission.
Oh well, yeah, I'm literally gonna beat it when we get off here. So
it'll take you probably like an hour and a half maybe to beat it from there. It's you probably got nothing left.
I think this game is awesome, man. Like I feel way better about it than last week, and I was pretty high on it last week. So I think I got a lot more time into it. I played a lot more co-op. Even when I have to go back and catch people up in their game, I'm like, I like this. This is a good part though. I like playing this mission.
Right.
So like I've really, really, really enjoyed it. I'm interested to see here. I know not spoiler wise, but like how the story kind of like. Did you end up liking the whole run of it or?
Oh yeah,
Jeff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I really did. I can see why some didn't, because there's something that happens in the last chapter that like it. I don't know. It's really hard to explain with dancing around spoilers, but there's something that happens in the last chapter that I can see rubbing people the wrong way because it's quite sudden and then it goes away.
Keep it at that.
Yeah. But I thought it was really cool and bold. Like it wasn't like. I felt like every turn that they took was something I wasn't really expecting. Without spoilers, but there's something that happens in the last chapter that I could see rubbing people the wrong way because it's quite sudden and then it goes away.
Keep it at that.
Yeah. But I thought it was really cool and bold. Like it wasn't like I felt like every turn that they took was something I wasn't really expecting.
Batman's transgender. Got it. It's bold.
He's not alive anymore, but
right, but he's They check his corpse and they're like, oh, I see. Okay.
I see. He tucked it. Got it.
Like on Ace Ventura, right?
Just turn around. That progressive movie, Ace Ventura. It's
that is bold. You're right, Jeff.
Yeah. Really good. The story is
and a lot of people aren't gonna like that.
It's true. They really aren't. Its story is really fascinating, though. It kept me guessing at every turn, and I think what they were doing with some of the villains that we are familiar with has just been refreshing. Like the Clayface stuff has been super fun. I really like the Mr. Freeze stuff. You fight him twice in his pantheon of chapters or whatever. It's like 6 chapters. Harley Quinn has a few side quests. All the side quest stuff's super thought out. The boss fights are cool. Like, they really did, I feel like, recapture some of the fun stuff from what I hear about Arkham Origins in terms of the boss fights being memorable there. And this one, I mean, I think some of the boss fights are really memorable.
I don't get this. I feel like this developer gets a raw deal. Like, I really feel like Arkham Origins is one of the best Batman games, if not my favorite. Really it's way better than Arkham Knight.
I agree with that.
Dude, I just played Origin, and I thought it was so much better than Arkham Knight. Didn't look as good, obviously.
No, it didn't look as good, but it was such a better game,
Oh, good.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I wonder if it's literally just that. I wonder if it's literally people are that shallow because like the Batman games look like amazing, right? Like,
it's so much so that people keep on trying to compare. Look what Gotham Knight looks like. Look at Gotham.
I keep seeing this YouTube video.
Arkham Knight.
The header says this game is 7 years old, and then it's Batman Arkham Knight versus.
Hey, one's not online.
Exactly, one's not co-op. You dumb.
Yeah, there's a major ingredient that you're leaving out when you're making that comparison.
Whatever, your Christian butt condemns me.
No, but
I'm not condemning anyone, but I'm not bleeping it anymore, so you're gonna be on record. It's up to you.
Oh well, in that case, fuck this, fuck that. No.
But like, I don't get like. I think that's what, and I was gonna say this earlier when we were talking about it. I'll just say it on the show. I don't have patience for a lot of gamers that won't take 2 seconds for critical thinking. Like, all you have to do is go, is Arkham Knight and Gotham Knights exactly the same? Like, the same type of game?
Yeah. Oh,
beyond just that, are they the same, fundamentally the same type of game? The answer is no. Yeah. No, and the major difference is the co-op / multiplayer. That is part of the single-player experience. That was not in Batman. And you cannot sit here and tell me like Call of Duty Warzone looks exactly like Call of Duty single-player campaign. Right. They don't. Why doesn't it fucking look the same? Because it's multiplayer, you dumbasses. See, Tim, this is your fault. So that's my issue.
Thanks a lot, Dad. Thanks, Dad.
It takes like 2 seconds to just go, are they the same? They're not the same. So we can't compare them because that would be stupid.
Just for the record, I'm barely paying attention. I don't know what I did wrong.
So that's my issue. Like, you're not going to get on, and I'm talking on consoles because I'm playing it on PC, and I do hit 60 frames per second. But I will say this. I have to turn off ray tracing, and I have an RTX 3090.
Well, ray tracing kills like the frames per second usually in general. So
that's like if I turn ray tracing on, like if I have everything ultra ray tracing on and DLSS 2 on quality, with everything maxed out, the game runs at 40 frames per second, 40 to 45 frames per second.
I hope those 10 frames are really getting you where you need to be. You know what I mean?
So I turned off ray tracing because I just was like, I don't see the value because just looking at it from before and after, I was like, I don't see the value, and I would prefer the 60 frames per second. Sure. But the game is not unplayable at 30, and when you, again, this is why I enjoy games more, is because I think about it and I start, I guess, making excuses for the developer, and I go, why are you only doing 30? Well, because they even said, they're like, it's not as simple as just dropping the res to increase the frames per second, which is actually what I said in the post. I was like, yeah, I wish they would have just dropped the res to increase the frames per second, but they said we can't do that, and a big part of it is the Series S was an issue as well. There's a lot of things behind the scenes that we don't know about that makes things difficult, but the main thing here is the online, the co-op, the multiplayer aspect of it. You're not going to get a multiplayer game that looks as good as a single-player game. I'm not saying they shouldn't have done better. Of course, like the character models, they're not exact. I think the open world looks great on my PC, but when I'm in the Belfry and I'm looking at the characters up close, I'm like, this definitely looks like a PS4.
Even when they're talking, it looks kind of
nice. It just looks like a PS4. I'm not gonna make an excuse for that. But that doesn't kill the game for me. I'm not like
they're wearing costumes for most of it, and I think the costumes look really good. They're very detailed, and like the amount of like light that like reflects off them. So it's like, okay, so they don't look like next gen, or they don't look Call of Duty characters when you're in the Belfry. No. So what? When you get outside, I think the game looks great. You know what I mean?
Looks great. It runs fine. I can't speak for the console, but you two are playing on it. You have zero complaints about it.
I wouldn't even know what 60 felt like with this game because I've only played 30, and this feels fine.
So as long as it plays fine. So like I said, my issue is
what does that gain for you, Kyle, to say that? What benefit does that give you?
I don't know. I feel braver. I feel braver after saying it.
Bruce Wayne is paying you with his many
and
millions.
stunning.
Batman, listen, Batman wouldn't have wanted us to fight about frame rates, guys. All right, he wouldn't have wanted us that.
You know what's really funny?
He didn't die.
Kyle, will you swear to me about that? Will you swear to me about
I'll
that?
swear to you.
There's a clip at the end of the game of they're showing a clip on a big TV screen in the Belfry, and it says in the upper right hand corner HD 16:9 30 frames per second. I was like, oh, that's funny. That's like an in-game joke almost.
They're like, look, guys, it's 30.
Even
it's
in
30.
videos, they're watching at 30 frames per second. God dang, man, this game is so much fun though. I mean, like, what is I don't understand why this is being Kyle, you brought this up. This is being like graded as harshly as Saints Row, which was arguably more broken. Like, you mean you can't even
way more broken.
Yeah, way more broken and definitely uglier. It was
way uglier. Yeah, this game is 2 or 3 times the game Saints Row is, and Saints Row is getting 2 or 3 more points in this game on average. Like it was out of control. Like
and that's not coming from a place of like I mean, all of us like Saints Row.
I beat it. I love that game.
Yeah. So I mean.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
So it's just. There's people have it out for this game for sure, and like
but that's what I'm saying. I don't quite understand, and I guess my issue was I have a problem with it when your logic is flawed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
I don't mind if you don't like a game. Go ahead and tell me you don't like a game. Now give me your logical reason why. If I can't argue it, then I'll let it go. But when you're fighting me with like bull crap that doesn't even make sense, it's apples versus oranges, just because. Well, those are Batman games. This is in the Batman universe. But it's not a Batman game. It's multiplayer. Batman games are single player. It's made by a different studio than the Batman games, except for Origins.
And there's also confusion about the loot aspect, and people immediately go, game as a service. And it's like, no.
There's not a single microtransaction.
There's a beginning, middle, and end.
Absolutely love the loot.
You know.
I love
I think the loot's super cool. That's the thing that I didn't care about in this game. Or I thought that I wouldn't care about is the loot, and that's the part that I love getting back to the Belfry.
I love it, dude. By the last third of the game, I was having so much fun customizing the outfits and stuff, and like getting more
the
color
outfits
packs.
They're
are
so
legit awesome. Go through so you have a bunch that are locked, but you get to see them, and when you look at them, you're like, I can't wait to unlock that. I have to unlock that. That looks so awesome.
When I unlocked, when you beat the game, you get the last outfit. I think it's called Knighthood. Yep. And then when I walked up to all of the outfits so you could change characters, they were already wearing them. And I was like, look at how awesome this looks.
I'm here for that.
It's just such a cool, tiny moment that it's like,
and I like that aspect too,
about, you know?
Where it's like whatever outfit you were wearing last is represented on the mannequin. So it's like you can kind of look at like, oh, look at my guys look pretty cool right now.
Yeah.
The last thing I wanted to bring up was at the beginning of the game, these characters play very similarly. They have similar moves and similar this. Where I'm at, and Jeff, you've beaten it, so you know they all play completely different by the time the game is done. Definitely. So it's like even stuff that like felt weird at first. We were like, Nightwing just isn't very fast, and then all of a sudden you get this hold down dodge move. And just like, and you're like, oh, okay, you had to level them up to there.
Their strengths as the way the characters are written.
They start deviating.
Like Nightwing has his acrobat background, so you unlock super quite quick like evade chains.
And now I can attack them way further away and I'll jump into battle, you know.
Batgirl can hack things and
Robin's
she's like
a teenage
invisible
bitch,
to cameras.
He has a cry button where you press it and he cries and cries.
Red Hood is just a brute the whole game. I mean, the more stuff you unlock is just more brute focused and gun focused, which are totally non-lethal, guys. Non-lethal guns, okay?
I hated when they brought that up.
They did bring it up in an optional cutscene. Yeah.
I thought he was out here capping fools. Yeah.
That's very nice
of him. Right in the head.
Yeah.
That's very nice of him.
I do.
That's always a challenge in these games where the superheroes aren't supposed to kill the enemies. Like,
yeah,
Spider-Man was a big thing where
there's legit
you like
stealth move.
You like swing kick
the edge of a building and just throw the enemy over, and I'm like, you're killing them. Like,
well, Spider-Man, their workaround is you can swing kick a guy off a skyscraper.
Sure.
Then out of nowhere, like this web will grab him and stick him to the wall. Like
right.
And in Arkham, like it does a similar thing where it's like a grapple will like grab him. This game, none of that. They fall all the way from the top of the skyscraper and hit the ground. And your character's like, ugh. He'll sleep that one off. You know?
Well, at least I was using pellets as bullets.
He'll feel that one in the morning.
By the way, if you shoot someone in the head with rubber bullets, they die. Just that
pretty much
in real life. So,
because people have. So
definitely recommend playing as Red Hood for the final mission. There's some stuff that happens that made me go, man, I'm glad I picked Red Hood. Like it just logically made sense in the story. But all four of them have like their own kind of different.
Gotcha. I was gonna ask you, like, doesn't it kind of tailor it to which character you are?
It does. And so like my ending had like Red Hood talking and narrating and stuff.
But even with me, I was switching like every single time I went back to the Belfry. Like the game never makes you go, oh, like, well, since you didn't bring Batwoman, like this doesn't make sense to you or this character. It always does a really good job of making it feel like
that's tough.
All the characters were there or present.
Can you imagine trying to design that? Like that'd be tough to design.
It's narratively, like with the dialogue and stuff, especially like when to use they and their and stuff like that. Whenever you're talking about groups of people, because like the game almost treats it like you were playing with someone last mission, so like the bad guys will be like, hey, there they are, but that now that's nondescript nouns, so it's like it always kind of works and. Just when to use the name and when to use.
I do find it funny when you go to.
I can't believe they pulled it off.
When you go to like, for example, when you go to find the head of the Court of Owls or whatever, and he's like, he, she, they, whatever, are like, I'm not trying not to spoil who it is, but they were like, all here by yourself, huh? I found me by yourself, and I was like, am I though? Like this game kind of wants me to believe we're all doing this together, but at the same time, you are doing missions on your own. And I don't know. That's interesting how they kind of dance around that narratively.
It's pretty wild.
But 4 out of 10 though. 4 out of 10.
Definitely
4 out of 10, guys. Yeah.
No, this isn't even a swimming in 7 scenario for me. It's an 8 out of 10 easily. At like the very least. Like it's just
like the media had me lower my expectations so much. Same. That like now that it's out, I'm like I could have been as excited as I wanted to be about this.
You guys ruined my hype,
and it still would have delivered. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't have been overhyping it.
You know what's the most fun too is like, or the most gratifying aspect of the game is like the further along that you get in the game, the quicker you are with the evades. Like how, like the symbol to look for evades, so it does start to feel more like an Arkham game.
It does.
The further along you get, and the more skilled you become, is like.
And perfect dodges do kind of feel like counters because like you keep it tight usually, and then you can go right into an attack.
Crap out of them and it takes off way more health.
So the combat is not the problem in this game, which reviews would have you believe it is, and it just isn't. It makes me think that they all played like the first 2 hours of this game.
Yeah.
And we're like, they all feel the same and yada yada. Because I've seen reviews say that everyone feels the same and yada yada, and I'm just like, no, dude. When you're 10 plus hours in, everybody is so drastically different and everything feels so good and the combat feels good. And like Jeff is saying, you're really gelling with like the timing of the dodges and like you feel like a superhero, like out on patrol
and the stealth capabilities. Like when you just do, like I was hitting a wall of such freaking difficult enemies by the end of the game that I had to just do ambush takedowns of an entire group of enemies, like because they were so difficult and they kept dodging every punch and every gunshot that I was like, all right, well, you throw a smoke pellet down and then you just zip out of there and that puts you back in stealth and they have no idea where you are. So I'm having to do that with like 10 enemies and like just go down, ambush somebody, take them down, and then just fly out of there like for 10 times.
Yeah,
it just gets so difficult.
And the stealth is pretty forgiving, so if you want to sneak around and stuff too.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
It's not so like demanding like an Assassin's Creed. Well, even Assassin's Creed's gotten a little easier over the years.
And,
but, like,
and the most fun part is the range ability. Like you can go up, you can from the top of like a rooftop or whatever, just aim your gun or whatever your weapon is, and just start shooting, capping enemies in the head, and they'll just drop, and other enemies will like be like, "What was that? Huh? That's weird. They're knocked out."
Did you hear?
And then you can shoot them in the head. Like, it's just.
Well, back to our rotation.
Nightwing is the one with the silencer. I think he's the one that has like a silencer to his gun.
Yeah, it's a dart.
People better with Nightwing, whereas Red Hood just has like, loud pistols basically. And then, Batgirl has her Batarang. It takes a few hits to knock him down. Yeah. And Robin has his little shitty slingshot. But it works well, so
you can lay proximity mines.
Yeah, they turn into proximity mines.
I wish I would have given that bow staff to literally anybody else.
I know.
He does have a cool main weapon. I do.
Yeah, I like the bow staff, but I just wish it weren't Tim Drake. Tim Drake can take a all the way.
I would say if I had a
sounds like a lot of Tim hate.
Yeah, no, I like this.
No, see, we got the good Tim here.
It would be for me personally, when I see an environment with 10 enemies and I'm like, okay, for instance, I'll tell you the missions that have frustrated me. It's the bomb ones where it's there's 3 bombs.
Yeah.
And
I got stuck on one for 10 tries one time.
Yeah.
And I was I can't believe this.
They turn the bombs on, or they turn the clock on, and it's in 1 minute. Now that doesn't sound like that's too bad, because it's okay, you just got to disarm 3 people in 1 minute. But each bomb takes 10 seconds to disarm. So you
anything that touches you interrupts that.
Anything that touches you,
wind blows by, anything.
Yeah, you have to
throw stuff at you. You have to stealth, and I'm like, at least for me, I'm like, where is my stealth options? I'll be hanging over one person, and it'll just say ambush him. I'm like, why can't I stealth here? Or if I'm trying to sneak around, there
are some areas that don't have anything hackable or anything that you can shoot at to distract them, and I'm like, how the hell am I going to stealth this? It's really tricky.
So it's almost like they want you to have 2 people, and one person takes the aggro and the other person, and it's sometimes the co-op is so necessary in the game design that is a fault. I would agree.
And also, one of my mistakes I was making is I forgot with Batgirl, she has the she has that gun that hovers with her, but you have to activate it.
Yeah.
You get to activate it. So I'm just trying to do this mission by myself. That gun hovering around and shooting at them, like the drone gun, would take a lot of attention away, plus it can kill them. So I needed to use that. But as far as stealth option, it is definitely heavy on action, less on stealth.
Stealth becomes more about taking out their numbers in bigger groups later in the game, like Jeff was saying, more so than getting around
really hard champions and veterans. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's for me, again, I'm only a little over halfway through the story. I don't think I'm gonna rush it. I beat it this week, but I really just want to enjoy the open world and I enjoy going from crime scene to crime scene.
Me too, man. Me too.
I just went out. I would go out on patrol sometimes with no mission loaded up and just I'm gonna go do crime real quick.
I did that twice for 2 nights to the point where I was so over leveled that I was like, okay, I have to go do some stuff.
Yeah, I actually didn't realize that 30 was the
it's a cap because it's a hard cap.
I was at 30 for a long time and I was grinding a lot after 30, and I'm like, oh. Okay, well, I may have wasted about 4 hours here. Yeah. That's all right.
Fortunately, your gear power does continue to go up. It's just your level. You can't unlock any more abilities, basically, unless you want to do New Game Plus. But that's it's kind of a smart move on their part. They want people to play their game as long as possible. Basically, that's.
But they did this way better than the Avengers. I never beat.
For sure.
Oh, this is what Avengers was trying to do and failed colossally at. And anybody should be able to see that, which is crazy to me.
Wow. Yeah, Avengers got better scores in this game, but okay, whatever. All
right. Avengers got better scores by 4 points in some cases.
Well, because it's Marvel, right? It's Marvel bias.
I guess,
but the Avengers had one of those situations where it had such a strong opening act.
It did.
Such a good opening, and then once it ironically, once it opens up, it becomes a way worse game, in my opinion. So,
and it's not even opening up in an open world sense like Gotham Knights, where it's all right, let's go back out to the city. It's let's go to the snowy tundra or a forest.
Yeah.
Here's your same environment.
Here's your few mission options, and they're kind of the same thing over and over again. Good luck.
Yeah. It's subtly randomized in some weird ways, but not enough to make anywhere feel unique. And you're I'm at the tundra again, breaking down bases. Cool.
But the opening was so good, and then the time jump, and then re-recruiting different characters and kind of seeing where they are now because things have changed, and it was just
the story was really well done.
So good,
I can't argue that, but
and I liked the way the story ended, but man, getting there, but the last couple hours, I was like, I just want to see the end of the story. I don't want to do these missions anymore.
Yeah. You have to grind now, Tim. Now you have to grind 4 levels. It's I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Pay $5 to play final mission.
Yeah, the game punishes you if you're not at a certain level. Basically, you either have to pay to be at a certain level, kind of like Destiny 2 did with each expansion, or grind for hours.
I think I did like 3 Hulk missions over and over because it was easy to get. There was something like that where I repeated a mission a couple times. I was like, this is not how I want to play this game.
Exactly. It's not how it should be. It's not how a game like that should be designed. Maybe a shooter, yes, but not.
So it sounds like Gotham Knights might be it's really solid dark horse for our Game of the Year conversations. I'm excited to hear how that shakes out.
I mean,
it's definitely in my top 10.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if it's honestly in my top 5. I get that there's been a lot of great games that I love, but I wouldn't be surprised if it hits the 5 spot.
That's awesome. That game just gets better, dude. So if you're liking it as much as you are now, like 10 hours from now,
I can see the story stuff that happens there. I can see that kind of maybe turning people off.
Sure.
And there's a reason for that, and we can dive into spoilers maybe by the end of the year when people have had time to.
So you're basically
either play it or not. But there's some things that happen that I could see some people going. Ooh,
they replay Living La Vida Loca at the end. That's what you're saying. Yeah.
They play it like 6 times in the final.
Back to back. Is it different versions or is it still the?
It's all 4 of them.
I hope
it's all
the
4
Jamaican reggae version.
Didn't they hire Shakira to do a version? It's kind of weird. I don't know.
Red Hood and Nightwing start making out to Living La Vida Loca.
That's the dream right there, Tim.
That's very progressive.
Yeah. I in terms of gameplay though, I think that it is a game that just keeps on growing and growing and growing. Like I always enjoyed unlocking a new move, and sometimes like you unlock a move because of a story mission or something like that, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna use this all the time now. Like this is gonna change the entire way I unlocked combos.
When there's a certain enemy that allows you to unlock like the drone or the turret for Red Hood. Because those enemies tend to there's certain enemies that tend to teleport or whatever, so you kind of have a hard time like grasping where they're going to be, so you just lay down a turret and it'll just start blasting them anytime they appear.
Rubber pellet turret.
Of course. Hey, that's called gun safety, brother.
The turret like pops out of side.
I'll tell you something, brother.
Rubber bullets only.
Right, rubber bullets
only. Yeah.
Or just dildo.
Rubber bullet baby bumper.
Yeah.
I want the gun to actually have a little flag that comes out that says "bang" on it when it unrolls.
That would be the Joker, right? That would be the Joker.
Old school Batman.
Yeah. Or Stone Cold Steve Austin and Vince McMahon. You guys.
That's my favorite. Yeah,
that's my and he pee. Oh my God.
They brought so much gun violence and like weird stuff.
I know. Yeah, but hey,
when Stone Cold broke into that dude's house and beat him up when he was crippled, that was fun.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That was Brian Pillman, I think.
Yeah, it was. It was Brian Pillman.
Well, Brian Pillman had a gun, and then they
it was the other way. It was the other way around. Whatever. Yeah. Anyway. All right.
That was a fun story.
So, so Gotham Knights is a good game. Sorry for everyone who doesn't want it to be good, but it's too bad. It is a good game. Can't do anything about it. Too bad for you.
And if you start any conversation with, "Well, I read that," I'm already checked out.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's fair about.
Dude, it's really funny seeing the ties.
I watched that.
Yeah. Oh no. Same thing. I'm checked out. I
read on Twitter and
no. Or here's the other line. I actually did some digging and.
Yeah. I did my own research.
No, if you didn't play the game, I literally don't want to talk to you about
I didn't realize an investigative journalist entered the conversation.
Yeah, I did exactly. Yeah.
So I've been noticing that the tides have been quietly changing. It's still a minority, but I'm still seeing a ton of comments on people that are actually playing the game now. Like
we have some people in our group who are pretty high on the game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You'll see a video on like TikTok or YouTube, and the comments are starting to shift and say, "I'm actually playing it, and it's pretty fun." Like I'm like, see?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. What a concept.
I will say this: I am not saying what I'm saying just to be different from the
You're
crowd.
not, because you'd be disagreeing with us right now, because we're the ones who are immediately in front of you.
I absolutely love this game. I think it's outstanding.
Yeah. Awesome. Because you're right.
Yeah, that's because you're right.
That's what it comes
Sorry,
down.
You're being accurate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I haven't played a lot more of Mario plus Rabbids this week. It's been
that's a bummer.
Not a lot of chances to game this week. When I was trying to finish Bayonetta 2 to play Bayonetta 3. So I played a little bit of. My son's been playing a lot of it though, because we share. If I'm offline, he can play as me anyway. So he's been playing it and loving it, and I've been watching him a little bit, or he'll be showing me some of the new characters. It's just a lot of fun. That first impression remains. It's very charming and super fun, but I don't have a lot more to add other than it's great. And if you liked the first one, it's even better. So the other little game I was actually playing this during my son's football game yesterday when he wasn't in, or during halftime. I was playing Marvel Snap because I saw the reviews on this mobile game and I laughed.
Huge hit.
I laughed at it. I was like, who cares about another mobile game? I ignore 99.999% of mobile games. And then every once in a while, some conversation about one might catch my attention. And I'm like, I'll just look at it. Let me just see what this is about. And every once in a while, it's right, and I'll kind of get into it. Like I got into Hearthstone for a little while, a few years back. It's actually a really creative strategy card game set in the World of Warcraft universe, and it's actually quite good. Same guy who directed that came over to this and made Marvel Snap. So there's a reason why there's kind of that same connection of
that's why so many people showed up to play this game. All the people who are super into Hearthstone and follow that guy, like they came over to.
Yep. I think it brought in of course, the Marvel license and the pedigree of the director. Yes. I think those two things combined. So this game has made like, I don't know, millions of dollars in its first week. I forget how many. It made a lot of money in its first week. So it's doing well. So basically, the concept of it is it's a one-on-one game, you against some random online. That's really how the game works. And the idea is you've got these 3 squares or cities, I guess, that you're trying to take over, and you take them over by having more points on that one. And you get points by playing cards in those sections. And so each section has a little space for 4 cards, and it goes real fast. The matches are like, depending on how long you take to take your turn, 2 minutes, could be up to 5 minutes, but they're real quick, and you just playing your cards. And they're all Marvel characters. They all have special abilities. Like Hulk has no special ability. He just has a really high point count because he just smashes things. Right. So he'll give you 12 points on any city you lay him on, right? Someone else like Iron Man has 0 points. He does 0 damage, but he doubles the points of everyone else in that square. So if you've got 3 other decent cards there and then lay down Iron Man, now you double your points for that square. So basically, it's just a very straightforward capture 2 out of 3 spots, and then that's the winner. So it's very easy in terms of understanding, and then I imagine there are people who are really, really good at it. I think it's fun. I think it's a fun little free-to-play, give it a whirl kind of game. And by the way, the artwork is fantastic. Like the cards look great, and then they have alternate versions of the cards. So they'll have, like I got alternate Hawkeye, and it's just a cool little comic booky version of him compared to his more realistic take on the original card. So anyway, it's a lot of fun. I think it's a cool little mobile game. Give it a whirl if that's your thing. It's also free, so whatever.
Yeah, since it's free, I mean, that's kind of ironically, I guess, a selling point for me.
Yeah, it was one of those things.
Games, otherwise, no.
I might not have ever tried downloading it, but I got to my son's game early, and I was just thinking around on my phone, and I saw someone else post about it, and I was just like, I think I even saw an ad for it. I was like, all right, why not? I'll just try this Marvel Snap game. So during halftime, I ended up playing. I messaged you guys. I was like, hey guys, this Marvel Snap's actually kind of fun. But of course, it was also, I was freezing cold and bored because my son was out for most of the second quarter and then halftime. So I'm just sitting there at this high school football game, which, by the way, the setting was cool. It's over at the Air Force Academy, right in the side of the Rocky Mountains. So the setting is cool, but it was chilly and I was getting bored. So I'm sitting there playing Marvel Snap on my phone, like an awesome father does.
Very supportive.
Very supportive. So anyway, there you go. Marvel Snap. Give it a whirl if that's your thing. Hey, there's some stuff we're watching I wanted to highlight, but before that, did I miss anything else that's new that you guys are playing? Whether it's newly released or new for you. Anything playing? Okay. There's some cool stuff to watch that's just been released. I watched the first 2 episodes of Tales of the Jedi, but we're gonna wait for Kyle to talk about Tales of the Jedi. Real quick, the Netflix movie my wife and I watched last night was called The Good Nurse with Eddie.
That just came out. I was wondering if it was that because that's been in my queue for.
Yeah, Eddie Redmayne and Jessica Chastain. It's a very slowly paced but purposefully so movie. Jessica Chastain is really channeling Jennifer Aniston from what is it, The Good Girl? Was that her kind of indie movie that she did?
With Jake Gyllenhaal, that movie?
Yeah, she kind of channels that type of energy where she's just kind of worn out and living. She's very like normal, but she's struggling and like. So Jessica Chastain is channeling that kind of vibe that Jennifer Aniston gave in that, which is a good movie, by the way. Anyway, this is an excellent film. It's wonderfully shot. The 2 leads are really what carry it, though, because there's moments that it's not the most intriguing. There's moments where it kind of drags a little bit, but the 2 leads, even when the director purposefully chooses to allow a chaotic scene to play out while it slowly zooms in on, and right at the beginning it does this. It'll slowly zoom in on one character's face as they're watching the chaos play out. It's just a very purposeful direction. And my wife was even kind of like, all right, we get it. Move on to the next. Like she was ready for the next thing. But I just thought it was really well done.
Not me. I like those slow burns. This one is a true story. It's based on a true story.
It is based on a true story. It's actually the movie's based on a book, which is a true crime nonfiction book based on the true story. So
about a nurse who was a serial killer, basically.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think that's Eddie Redmayne's character. And What's Jessica Chastain's relation to him? Does she work with him or something?
They're both night nurses. In an
gotcha.
ICU ward, and he actually is incredibly friendly and helpful to her as she's dealing with a whole bunch of stuff personally, medically, and with her family, and so they become good friends. And then stuff starts to come out that maybe he is connected to these like unexplained deaths of people who were already kind of really sick, but then all of a sudden they're dying without good reason, and then they discover this is his 9th hospital in the in 16 years, and it's like,
okay, I gotta watch this. I like serial killer. I like serial killers, guys. That's what I'm saying.
I like them. I like serial killers.
They're not doing nothing weird. They're just taking some pictures.
I got vibes as if you ever watched
some gay stuff.
If you ever listened to the Doctor of Death or Death Doctor, and then there was a Hulu show about that too. The
Doctor. Actually, I think there was a Peacock show about.
Or Peacock show.
Yeah. It was Joshua Jackson was playing the guy or whatever.
Yeah, but that's also based on a real story where this guy became a surgeon, should not have been, and was just like horrible at his job, and people were dying because of bad work he was doing. That's also, so this has vibes of that, where he was being enabled to do this because no hospital wanted to even sniff the liability on the damage they were causing, and so they were just trying to cut ties with him and move him on, get him to sign an NDA and just get out of there. And
so they were basically Catholic churching him, just
big
him
time. It was so
that's crazy. That's a crazy story. I gotta watch this movie.
It's a good movie. Again, it's very slowly paced, so I think Jeff, you'll totally dig it. I think you guys
probably
the rest of you might like it too, but it's just like it's not a fast-paced thriller. It is a slow-moving, and it's not even really a mystery, because you, the viewer, right away you're like, I knew what was happening from the opening. Like, it's obvious, but it's still compelling to watch it all unfold. So, and the acting is quite good. Jessica Chastain and Eddie Redmayne are great. They look like siblings, by the way. When they really zoom in on their faces, my wife and I are both.
Yeah, I see the similarities in the poster.
They look a lot alike. So anyway,
that is interesting.
So that's one thing that we watched. And so Kyle's back. I watched so far only the first 2 episodes of Tales of the Jedi, but so far really love the art style and the storytelling and what they're doing there. What do you think, Kyle? What are your thoughts on this so far?
Or did you watch? Man, these were amazing. Done in the same kind of style as the Clone Wars cartoons, all directed by Dave Filoni. I hope we get more of these, because he took 2 moments in the history of Star Wars that are plot holes. You know what I mean? They're not filled in. Maybe if you read the books, not maybe, but if you read the books, you kind of know what's going on. But for everyone who's just kind of a viewership only person, Dooku just kind of shows up and he's a bad guy, and everybody in the movie kind of tells you he wouldn't do that. You don't really believe it because you don't know anything about him, so you get that story here in these episodes of kind of Dooku training Qui-Gon, and him kind of getting kind of distant to what the Jedi kind of stand for now. He thinks the Jedi should stand for the people, but the Jedi is kind of more aligning with the Senate, more and more as kind of years go on. Because Yoda's a horrible grandmaster, but we can get into it a different day. And also the other side of the stories are Ahsoka, and you get a little bit about how where she came from and stuff like that, but it's more about bridging the gap between Clone Wars and Rebels, because she just kind of disappears after Clone Wars. You don't see her in the original movies, obviously. So what is she out there doing, and how does it connect to where we see her first after her absence? And this goes into that as well. And boy, I hope they do more of this, because you're talking quick 8 to 10 minute episodes. I guess some are maybe 12 or 15, but they're over really quick. They tell a different kind of arc in all of these people's histories, and I think they're just really well done. And again, Dooku's a really good bad guy, but if you're only watching the movies, that doesn't really come off,
I agree, man, because I didn't know anything other than episode 2 and the beginning of 3, where he is just Christopher Lee's menacing, deep voice, and he's not nice. He's a mean man, and he's
a mean old guy. Yeah, he's got a red lightsaber. He must be mean.
He's mean to all our heroes, and so I just knew he was bad. And
but this kind of you have to start thinking about Qui-Gon was such a great Jedi. Who was his master? It's Dooku, and you get to see why that rubbed off on Qui-Gon the way it is. They're both free thinkers, they're both not with the the strict kind of rules of what the Jedi kind of stand for now. And it's just interesting. I really liked it a lot, and I'm super glad that these came out, because they weren't ever going to be for the public. They were just made for D23 or something like that, I forget, or Star Wars Day or something, I forget. But they were only going to be for the convention, and then everyone was just we're going to give it to everybody. So
I'd like to suggest that what they've done, I've only seen 2 episodes, so I've seen one of kind of Ahsoka's origin story a little bit. Like you get to see of her family, a little bit of her as a baby and that kind of thing. And then you see Dooku and a very young Qui-Gon on a mission together. And so it's, for me at least, it's showing kind of like what the Clone Wars did with Anakin, where if you just watch the movies 2 to 3 and you're kind of like, this is a bit of a stretch for him to make the big turn in 3, but all right.
Yeah.
But if you see the Clone Wars, and again, I haven't watched all of them, but I've watched a lot of Clone Wars episodes, and I've watched a lot of summaries of them, by the way, which are really interesting. Some people on YouTube have done an incredible job of summarizing the Clone Wars stuff. Anyway, that tells a very compelling version of Anakin's journey from one side to the other. Whereas in the movies, it can feel like a stretch if you don't have all those pieces. I feel like this might do some of that for Dooku as well, where it's like, hey, let's get a little more nuanced here with how this isn't just the cackling evil dude who wants to kill Anakin, and there's more to him than that. So I like that. I think that's cool.
Yeah, they did a really, really good job in just 6 very brief episodes. Covering very pivotal moments in certain Jedi characters' history that we had never seen before. It's filling a lot of gaps too,
and it looks great.
It reframes and recontextualizes the stories that we've known for over 10, 20 years. You know what I mean? Right. So it's I like that a lot. I just anything more to make those prequels a little more tolerable. So
right.
You know, so just I'm really enjoying it. You know, I hope they do more. If y'all ever wondered where Yaddle went, you're gonna get those answers.
I've always wondered that.
I know, Tim. We text each other at night. Deep
I know. We really
do. How do we Yaddle? Yeah.
Where?
Well, guess what? Yeah. So you're gonna like just little things that like Dave Filoni knows that like fans are out there thinking about. Like he'll be like, yeah, I guess I'll make an episode or something. Like I don't know. They'll talk about a guy who probably reads the comments. You know. So that poor guy.
I know.
That's true. That poor guy.
Well, speaking of animated content, there's a new stop motion animated. Think like Wallace and Gromit meets Nightmare Before Christmas style with this Wendell and Wild movie.
Yeah,
and
this is literally directed by the director of Nightmare Before Christmas.
There you go.
Yeah, and Coraline. He did Coraline as well.
Coraline, yeah.
So he tends to like work on projects for a long time. Like he's only made 4 movies.
Yeah.
And Wendell and Wild is one of them. And he's come a long. I mean, I should say, I guess stop motion has come a long way.
Did he do Box Trolls or was that someone else?
I think that was someone else.
Okay, keep going. So Wendell and Wild
did Coraline, and then he did another movie I didn't really care. Oh, he did Monkey Bone. That's what it was. Didn't really care for that movie though.
That one sounds familiar.
Yeah, that was a Brendan Fraser movie where it was. Like
I know I've seen
that one.
Oh
yeah.
It was live action plus all of the animation from Nightmare Before Christmas. It was not good. But yeah, the animation style has come so far, and I mean, it's always just been such a treat stylistically to feast your eyes on, and that's really where this movie shines. I feel like the plot is decent. It's just kind of juggling a lot, and it makes it harder for the viewer, at least, to grasp onto one thing in particular and grasp onto that journey. Like the lead character does have a very definitive arc that you can grasp onto and appreciate. But there's other side stories that are going on. Then it's like, okay, this might be a little too much especially for a kids movie.
Yeah.
And it is. There's darker content going on too. It's much in the same vein of Nightmare Before Christmas and Coraline. They're talking about death and stuff in this, and like in kind of a morbid, macabre, is macabre the word for that kind of way, where it's kind of like, I don't know, it's just a little dark. So maybe it won't be for all families, but I mean, I know when I was a kid, young age, watching Nightmare Before Christmas, this would definitely have appealed to me. And
I kind of hated that kind of stuff because it looked nightmarish. Like I always hated like James and the Giant Peach. I thought it was so creepy looking.
That's same director as this movie, James and the Giant Peach. I love that movie.
Okay.
As
a kid, I thought it was creepy,
but it was great. I loved it. But so I mean, I think this will appeal to that audience that kind of grew up on those movies and will come away with respect for this one too. Cool. Key and Peele were great. They play demons in this, and they're kind of using the main character to be summoned to Earth, and they have their own goals in mind. Basically, everybody has their own motivations. That's kind of where the story might get a little muddled, but it's great to watch in 4K. It's beautiful. Good stuff. Good grab, Netflix.
Dude, I just went to his IMDb page, and his headshot, Henry Selick, this director, he looks like one of these characters that he animated.
But Tim, you write what you know.
He just kind of has a funny look about him, like
he's inspired by himself.
And he's also making a very funny face. Like I think he's doing it on purpose. He's just kind of a goofy grin.
I think he co-wrote this movie with. Oh yeah, I see what you're talking about. Yeah, he looks like a villain from one of these movies. Yeah. He co-wrote this with Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele's been kind of a little bit on a roll this year with this and Nope.
That's awesome. Stuff. Nice. Nice. Well, there's also, and this is something I just saw advertised, and I've added it to my queue. This Cabinet of Curiosities looks creepy AF. How is it?
Yeah. I wanted to get into this. I haven't started
This is like a Twilight Zone type show or Black Mirror type show where it's like every episode is a different horror, genre or subgenre or theme or whatever. Different actors, different stories, and Guillermo del Toro comes on the screen in the first like few seconds of every episode and introduces a story.
Oh, so like the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah. He's like the Vincent Price basically, and
even better.
Yeah, and he's introducing the story and talking about what a Cabinet of Curiosity is. Apparently, it's like a German thing. Some of the directors are like super well known, like Panos Cosmatos. He did an episode, probably my favorite episode. He did Mandy.
Okay, cool.
And Jennifer Kent did an episode. She did like, what did she do? Nightingale. Anyway, she did the final episode, which is really good. Oh, you haven't seen it.
Wait, isn't that the movie that came out a couple years ago? That was about the girl who goes on like a revenge.
Oh, you did see that?
Yes, dude.
Wow. Okay,
Jeff,
I'm surprised.
I love that movie.
That was like high level
awesome, dude.
Right
yeah, you
have not seen that.
Yeah.
He's got a monocle out.
I could
had a whole conversation about it.
I don't remember talking about that at all. I was like, I remember walking out of the theater going, I don't know how I'm going to sell this movie to any of my friends. Like, I love dark movie.
Just now. That was so good.
Yeah.
We went together to the theater.
Yeah, I flew to Texas and we saw
You were literally sitting right next to me.
I sat on your lap. You don't remember this?
You offered me popcorn and then you put it in my mouth for me.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
There's also a episode done by the director of A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. I think that's the name of it. It's like a vampire, kind of new age vampire story. And then she did The Bad Batch too, with random Jim Carrey and Keanu Reeves being a cult leader. It's a weird movie.
I do love seeing like
that episode. That episode she did on Cabinet of Curiosities is like one of the weirdest ones. I kind of gravitate towards the weirder ones that are more outside the box. Gotcha. And then there are episodes that are like the first episode takes way too long to get into the actual horror element of it. That I was like, all right, now I don't care anymore. There's some episodes that are weaker than others.
You said the first two were pretty weak, right?
And then I thought so. I thought the second one was trash, but there's a lot of people that
you recommend approaching it like Black Mirror, where watch them in order, but think of it like these separate stories.
Yes, definitely. Okay. And you'll find one or maybe multiple that you tend to appreciate.
But same with there are Black Mirror episodes that I'm like, I'll never rewatch that one. It wasn't my thing. But there's other ones that I'm like, this was amazing.
Yeah.
Like I'm never going back and watching the pig episode again.
Nope.
Yeah.
But like I'll watch the video game one again.
Yeah, exactly. I'll watch the entire history of You one, and hell, I think they're still making a movie out of that one. So.
That was such a good one. Yeah. I'll also watch the Bryce Dallas Howard one when everyone's rating each other. I'll watch that one again.
I like that one. Yeah. Oh my god, she goes crazy.
And hey, listen, I know that not everyone's a fan, but the Miley Cyrus episode, I actually thought was pretty good. It kind of had I
wasn't a huge fan.
The little robot, whatever. I thought it was a pretty good one.
I don't remember that one.
Anyway, I know we're getting off track, but Cabinet of Curiosities is a recommend from Jeff. Yes,
for the most part, yes. Like there were a couple episodes that were like some of my favorite things I've ever seen all year. Like it's just like the guy I mentioned who directed Mandy, his episode was just floored me. It was so effing weird and shot so beautifully, and the monster in it is just bananas. Like who thinks of this? I just it kind of blew me away.
So the other new movie that you watched that I want to hear about is actually that my wife and I last night were like, let's watch a movie together. And I was like, let me show you 2 trailers of the 2 that I want to watch. One is called The Good Nurse. We watched that trailer. She was like, that looks interesting. What's the other one? Then we watched the trailer for All Quiet on the Western Front. Yeah. And as soon as she saw in the trailer this little scene of all these, there was a big shout, all these rats go running across the floor to like get away from whatever's about to happen. She was like, "Yeah, we're gonna watch the nurse one." She didn't even see any of the rest of the trailer. She was like, "The nurse."
Oh, that's a bummer because that's like a tiny part of the movie.
Dude,
is the rat stuff.
When she saw it, was like, this is a war-based movie, and it's like she was just like a bunch of different things about it. She was like, "I'm not in that place where I'm ready to do that."
It's a gross movie, like in more ways than
that's
one.
gonna be a Tim watching it alone film, and that's fine. That's fine.
That's always a good time.
You know what? And you know what? You're gonna freaking love it. It is a German film, so if you have subtitle hangups, just get over it, I guess, or don't watch it. I don't care.
Oh, I'm not. Okay, I'm out then.
But it's
Life is Beautiful is still one of my favorite movies ever, and that was not in English at all. So.
Oh, good. I'm glad you have an appreciation for some of that. I think when Parasite won Best Picture, I was like, "Yep, that makes sense." I'm totally okay with subtitles if the movie is amazing, and I think that movie's amazing.
Yeah.
And this one too. I think this movie is just unbelievable, man. It's one of the best modern war movies I've ever seen. And I don't mean modern war like. It's about World War I.
Modern warfare.
I mean, made in modern day.
Modern warfare.
I haven't seen a ton of World War I movies. Like 1917 was the most recent
other one. Really.
1917. It was the last one I saw on that.
And what a freaking movie that is!
Is that one taking place
10 out of 10 movie?
I don't think that one's taking place on the Western Front, right? Because Western Front is France and
I don't think
Germany.
So,
no, it's particularly actually towards the Eastern Front where they kind of push too far and they get surrounded.
And that's where they weren't Allied powers back then, but that's where they were having more success gaining ground. Whereas the Western Front was the most pointless part of the war because they would only gain, like, both sides would sometimes just gain a few meters at a time. They would never gain control of the Western, and so many people died. Yeah. Like, it's just insane.
A lot of that trench, like nasty trench warfare too, right?
The body count is just nuts, considering how nobody won anything in that side of the war. Like, nobody. Like, and that's the.
Sorry, I'm still thinking about 1917, about how it's shot like a long shot movie.
It is.
The editing points are so clever that like I had to watch a video to have them pointed out to me. I think I only caught one on like a totally dark part of it. I was like, that's a cut.
There's some long takes in this one too, where like you'll be in trenches and it'll be like a long cut, and you'll see them run up and run out of the trench to charge. But they're not trying to infringe on 1917's gimmick.
Yeah.
They do cut away every now and then, but there are some really impressive long takes in this, and it is brutal in a way that the 1930 movie could not be because it's black and white and
sure.
made in Hollywood, and it's American too. It's like fake German soldiers. Like, are you kidding me? These guys are like, yay! I can't wait to register. It's like, come on, you're not German, bro. You're not fooling anybody. That movie's great and won Best Picture or whatever, but like for its time, and this totally emphasizes even more so the themes that the old movie was trying to dig into really deep about how violent we get. And like, there's a part in the book, I can't remember if it's in the old movie or not, but there's a part in the book that this is based on where he, the main character that we follow, who lies about his age so he can serve his country, he gets into a hand-to-hand combat thing, kind of like Saving Private Ryan moment with the knife.
Oh my gosh.
He gets into like a hand-to-hand combat thing with one soldier, and the soldier just wouldn't die. Like he just kept like making noises and like just struggling to breathe, and like, and in the book he like spent hours with this guy like waiting for him to die, and they kind of do that as a brief scene in the movie, but it's just so freaking powerful, dude. Like, yeah, I know we've seen tons of, it's not treading any new ground in terms of, you know, war is hell, you know, war is hell. Like, we've seen tons of movies like that, but this, I mean, it's still a good version.
Yes,
of that.
But the reason why in my opinion, war movies are so compelling to a lot of us, especially men, but of course women get really into it too. But there's the combination of the combat and like the who's gonna win, who's stronger. So we're interested in that in the back of our minds. But more importantly, it's like who's brave, like who are you really in that scary, crazy moment? Like there's something about like who a real man is in that moment that compels a lot of us to want to see those stories unfold, and you get to see like who's the real hero and who's not. Like there's something about that compels me to keep watching.
This is more about the gray areas of war, kind of like the movie Fury tackled, where these guys are not, I mean, they're not having a good time, let's just say that. they're like, not having, you know, they're kind of showing all this propaganda by their own country to be like, this is a bold thing to do, is to serve your country, and it's brave, yada. And then as soon as they go to war, they're left to fend for themselves. They don't have any food, you know, they can lose weapons, lose ammo. Like, I mean, it's a free for all basically as soon as you get out there. And the people that are using them as pawns don't care, you know. so yeah, it's very much focusing on that aspect of the war and not so much talking about heroism. It's actually like more like the soldiers that are the main focus of the movie are like, oh, we're not heroes at all. We're kind of this war is making us horrible people. Like
war is bleak as hell, man.
Yeah, it is. And back then too, during that Western Front, I mean, just nothing but soldiers that are miserable. Like just people dying all the time for no good reason because nobody could gain ground on that side of the war.
Yeah,
it's an interesting war, man.
I think that's what makes it compelling is good, interesting characters and good stories within a horrible backdrop of governments making decisions and sending really truly innocent soldiers from both sides to kill each other, and that by itself is going to be compelling no matter what.
And they do actually focus on Daniel Bruhl's in this, and he plays one of the politician type people that are negotiating peace in the movie. So you get to see kind of both sides of like what it's like for the people in their ivory towers getting to just move their soldiers around, and mostly from the soldier perspective. The opening 5-10 minutes of the movie is just so gripping. It shows the life cycle of a soldier, basically, like what it's like when they enlist to when they go on the field, when they die, and what happens to their, all of their stuff left over. Like it just gets thrown back, their their outfit, whatever you would call their outfit, uniform. Gets kind of recycled and put back into production for the next soldier.
Back into supply. Whoa.
It's just, it's so good, man. Man, this movie kind of blew my mind. It's one of my favorites of the year.
Well, speaking of stuff to watch, this kind of takes us right into some of our headlines. I thought this one was interesting because it actually truly does bum me out. Usually I don't care about casting stuff with video game adaptations, but I have so loved Henry Cavill as Geralt in The Witcher. And he's got one season left, and that's next summer. And I got to be honest with you, if the announcement had been, we are ending this run of The Witcher with season 3, but don't worry, we got more Witcher stories to tell, future spinoffs. There's already the other spinoff. Like
they've already franchised it.
We've got more Witcher stories to tell. Then I'd be like, awesome. Tell a great season 3, wrap up Geralt's TV show story, and then move on to other characters. Great. But they're recasting Geralt with Liam Mesworth, by the way, Jeff. Good play there. Not
Mesworth.
Mesworth. They're recasting Geralt, and they're going to continue on season 4. So, like, to me, I'm actually more bummed that it's not like, hey, the show's going to end at season 3, leaving me wanting more, which is actually, if you look back on it, that's a good feeling. If you finish a show and you wanted more, but boy, what a great finale, that's the perfect way to end a show. But if you're going to move it into season 4 and recast, now I'm not saying it can't be good, but
classically it's not good though. Like,
boy, am I not excited.
Shows like Spartacus had to change like their lead actor halfway through, and it totally fell off. Like
that was
this is almost never.
That was because he died from cancer.
He died of cancer, but it's still a recasting. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't change the story or change the character. Like, we're gonna keep this character. We're gonna make a new person there, but you're already identified with that character with this other actor. You know, and it's like people can't get over the hurdle. Like they can't. Like and historically, if you go back and look at shows that have tried to do this, like I don't know if any of them have ever had seen success. So, you know,
so it's like the opposite of what we're seeing with Black Panther, where they are properly moving on. And I think there's an argument to be made, like, hey, they could have just recast them. Like, yeah, they could have.
And they will. I feel like they will eventually.
They will. They could eventually, but like for
universes.
Now, for now, they're moving on without having his character leave the fictional universe that we're enjoying.
Right. In this universe of MCU, he's dead. He's dead. But, how can he be Black Panther if he's dead? Yeah. So.
So I think this is a bit of a bummer, but I am still excited for season 3. That means we still have a whole full season of Henry Cavill as Witcher.
I still haven't even finished season 2.
I didn't even watch season 2.
Yeah.
Dude, I haven't watched any of them.
It's so good.
Yeah. Season 2 is great. Like season 1 was so good. Season 1 was a bit of a mess, even though it's still very good. In terms of what they're trying to do, some creative storytelling that I think didn't always work, but it still overall was enjoyable. I thought season 2 was way better. I really liked season 2.
It was more linear, right?
It was more linear, but it allowed you to not constantly be wondering what the heck is going on and just enjoy the characters and the narrative.
The first episode I did watch of season 2, and I was like, oh, this felt like a side quest type episode. Because he's
is that the one where he goes to like a haunted house or something like
that?
In the beginning of season 2, it's basically a haunted house.
Yeah, I watched that.
So anyway,
and it was a good episode. I just got psyched because I think it came out very end of the year. I just got
Christmas time
stuff.
Christmas time. So anyway, there you go. There's the Witcher news. I don't think that's great news, but it's also like maybe in my mind I can just maybe I'll stop watching after season 3 because that's it. That's the story of Geralt that I care
Geralt
about.
right there.
Yeah.
That's the only Geralt
that's probably how it's I'm gonna land on.
Not my Geralt.
Yeah.
Well, if they were saying we're gonna recast, but they didn't announce who it was, maybe, or maybe if they were like, it's actually a nearly no name or someone who we know, like someone who's up and coming, like maybe, but Liam Hemsworth.
It just feels gross too because days ago he's like, I'm Superman again, and then like he's like, and I'm quitting all my other projects. It's just like it kind of. Yeah, there's a line to be drawn there, and that part of it feels gross. That, like, you know,
it feels like.
But also,
I don't know if he had it. If it has to be, if it's a contractual thing where he has to be
maybe
fully invested in the DC universe.
Well, I'll tell you, Marvel contracts are like that. So, or they were at one point. So
I wouldn't be surprised if that's what like.
Well, and I did some digging, and I was waiting to share.
Oh, you did some digging.
You did some digging.
Yep.
I did some my own research.
Everyone just went on mute. How weird. No, I did a little. I did, and The Witcher is a very hands-on production. It takes months. It's 6 days a week. It's shot on site. It is not something you vacation away. It's not something you vacation away from to go to a different set on a different part of the world and then fly all the way back to Europe to shoot. Like it's a very demanding shoot or whatever. So it very much so probably was a either or situation for Superman and Witcher, you know, and like, will we ever know for sure? I don't know. I don't know if he'll just straight up say that, but like when you look at kind of the production of The Witcher and how demanding it is and how long they've been shooting season 3, which they're still shooting, mind you. He had to sneak off set secretly to go, you know, do something else for a different project. You know what I mean? So
really?
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
Also,
and
to
like,
what degree do we say this is Henry Cavill's fault, and to what degree do we say like, no, he wanted to do 3 seasons, and they decided with the success it's going to go further, and he's like, well, I'm doing 3. Like, we don't know. We don't know if
we don't know. Yeah, you know, I mean, there's rumors out there saying that he hasn't been happy with the production of the second and third season of the show. You know, but again, none of this is a quote. You know,
you did some digging though, so.
I did a little digging though. You know, somebody said that he said that. So.
Somebody said somewhere that.
That's the name of this episode.
That's why ignore that part. But the stuff about the production of the show is very true. And
the name of this episode is "We Did Some Digging."
We did some digging. Dot.
Oh, that's good. By the way, if you haven't watched it, sounds like a couple of you haven't. I highly recommend it. It's a great show. It really is a fun show.
I will give Netflix a shot on November 3rd when they give me their ad version of it for $8.
Yes. Oh, that's smart. That's smart.
Give it a whirl.
People are mad about that.
Also, if you can't think of a good Liam Hemsworth role, that's because there aren't any. So that's why we're not excited.
Yeah. I mean, he was that.
I want to see a buddy cop comedy between Liam Hemsworth and Joel Kinnaman. It'd be so dynamic and so fun.
Yeah. And just you know, like. To be the most boring Hemsworth brother,
and Clint Eastwood's son, Scott Eastwood.
Scott Eastwood. Yeah.
Sure.
Would you call it so would it be like the other guys, but it'd be called the boring guys?
Yeah, the boring guys.
The meh guys.
The mad guys.
You know who else doesn't like to? Who else hates stuff is Japan, because they're not letting Callisto Protocol arrive in their country whatsoever.
Yeah. Don't even.
Don't
even try. We cancel.
The developer won't cut some of the violence that's in the game that the ratings board are saying they have to cut, and so therefore it's not allowed to release in that country, which is crazy.
But
I heard somebody that they wouldn't even let them resubmit either. They're like, and we're not.
Is anyone else curious now? How violent is this thing? Like, let me.
I know.
I've been watching videos on it because I was trying. I've already said this before. I'm not the biggest Dead Space fan.
Right.
Actually the only one I beat was Dead Space 3, which everybody hates.
I love that.
So I wasn't that into this. Sci-fi like horror is not my thing. So I started watching some videos of it, and that's when I was like, you know what? This is day one for me. Even though they said this game's really hard, which is kind of a turnoff for horror games. I don't really like them to be. I'm not looking to play a Souls game and a horror game. But anyways, watching the videos actually made me go, I'm sold. This is day one, no doubt. And part of it is basically the fatalities. Like this goes beyond like Mortal Kombat. There's like a sense of humor to their fatalities. Like, you know, Johnny Cage will split their head and then put an Oscar statue of him in between their, the brain being cut in half. This game is very realistic looking violence. Like where like the one where they show your character getting caught in a fan and being like
Yeah, it's shocking how violent it is.
That stuff's in Mortal Kombat, but Mortal Kombat comes off as like, this isn't real. Yeah. Whereas this game looks like, if this actually happened to you, like if you got stuck in this is what it would look like if you went through this. Yeah. So, and the whole design of the game, this is another thing that intrigued me, is like, they're like, we're going to make deaths a part of the game. Like, we're going to make it like, you know, when you die in a game, you get the same death screen, and you're kind of like, this is boring. We're going to make it like where it's a part of the game. It's a foundation of the game. Like, we want you to die, and you're going to experience. The creator of the game, who used to be part of the Dead Space games, he said...
He's the creator of Dead Space, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know how many death scenes we have. It's like, we don't know the number. We just
it's like the No Man's Sky for death scenes. It's not procedurally generated.
There's an AI algorithm that runs on flesh tearing, and
it's based off like where you're
Every
at.
Death is unique.
What angle you're at? What's happening in that scene?
What's the enemy?
Yeah. Right. So, anyways, I'm very intrigued by the game, but I can understand. I'm not saying it should be boycotted, especially from that area of the world where
Japan has a whole thing where like tentacles come out of like vaginas. So like this is really rich to me, you know. Like,
I know.
The hypocrisy, right? The hypocrisy.
Yeah, they're just like they push the envelope in some really weird ways, and then they'll really pull back on other things.
Yeah.
I'm like,
the only thing I can think of is hey, we have an issue with how realistic it is rather than how violent it is. Because again, they have violent crap. They have sexual stuff.
But it's mostly cartoon and anime style as opposed to this looks real.
Yeah. Which is way more artistic,
I mean, they still blur out their penises in porn. Come on, guys.
You're right about that, and that's the thing I'm talking about. It's like we can show tentacles, but the second it's real genitalia, we're out.
This is an area where Derek did some digging, and
go ahead, Derek. Load up the segment. I did some digging.
You did some digging.
Digging for that blurry sex.
Jesus. Thanks for putting in the time and effort there, Derek. I appreciate it.
Well, releasing, I believe, on the same day as Callisto Protocol is Midnight Suns, and so that'll be an interesting,
nice duet.
Nice duet. Actually, okay, nice trio of games, right? Three very different games releasing that day. That's cool.
One of which is like a palette, the racing game is like always a palette cleanser, so
it is, yeah.
I will be buying the more expensive version, so I'll get it November 29th, but the standard edition is December 2nd.
Is that for Need for Speed? Oh, I might be doing that then.
I'll do that too then.
Yeah.
I always do their digital.
Hey, you got our money. Yeah, if you want to siphon money out of gamers, give them the game 3 or 4 days early. That's a really,
I always look when I look at the digital like the premium versions. There's 2 things I look for. What are you giving me like digital content that actually I would care about in the game? And another selling point for me, even though I know a lot of people and I totally get why they would have a problem with this, is giving me early access. So
yeah, I like it too, and I understand
$20 more, and you give me, let's say, $15 worth of content. I pick how much the content's worth, and I feel like it's $15 worth, and then my brain will go, so you're paying $5 to get this game that you really want 3 days early? I'll do it.
Yeah,
and I do that.
Yeah. Well,
Square's been doing that a ton.
Yeah,
their digital version. Said Square's been doing that like the past all those Valkyria Chronicles DioField.
They did that?
Yeah.
I didn't do it with DioField because I wasn't completely sold on whether I would love the game as much as I ended up loving it. But I just bought the standard version. But yeah, you bought the deluxe version, right? Because you started playing like 3 days before.
Yeah, you were early.
Because I just wasn't aware. I went to GameStop and I was like, all right, I'm here to pick up my thing. And they're like, it's not I was like, God, son of a bit. Like, I forgot they had done that with another game like earlier on. So like, then I just went home and got the deluxe one so I could play right then and there. But
I just pictured you walking in with your elbow swinging and walking out with your head down.
Yeah. In Call of Duty, if you buy that game, if you bought Call of Duty physically, you couldn't play the campaign early this year. So like, that is a digital only, perk.
Well, the Midnight Suns season pass is going to include. I don't know if it's going to be at launch, but eventually it's going to include Morbius, Deadpool, Venom, and Storm as new.
One of those matter, guys. It's Morbius, obviously.
It's Morbid time.
Yeah, it's going to be Morbid time, guys.
I'm actually glad you're telling me this because now I was going to just do the standard version for that game. Maybe
that's not all though, dude. It's going to include new story missions they'll add, including new selections of skins, new upgrade for your base of operations, and but the season pass isn't expected to be available right at launch. So it's one of those things where the game will launch. Now there might be some kind of gold, platinum edition. I don't know. I haven't looked. So you can.
There's like 3 versions of this game. There's like a standard, digital deluxe, and then like the gold tier.
Okay, so I think you can purchase it, but the actual content won't come till later. So you can purchase the season pass ahead. Okay.
I feel like there's gonna be plenty of heroes to choose from at launch.
Yeah.
I'm kind of where you guys were talking about, like you gotta want to see until you how much you like the game if you're gonna buy all the extra content. So let me just buy the base
with Gotham Knights. I bought their cosmetic pack like 3 days ago because I was like, you know what, I do love this game. Might as well. Buy some more suits or whatever in an upgrade or 2. Yeah,
makes sense.
No, I'll buy that when it's cheaper. I didn't want to pay. You paid the $25.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that. I get why you did it, but I don't. I couldn't justify 25.
So speaking of superhero games, we just talked a lot about Gotham Knights, but the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League game is getting close to being finished. So I think we can have some confidence that it will arrive, at least close to when they're saying for next year.
Kyle, your thoughts or
delayed?
Y'all really want to know? Y'all villainize me whenever I speak the true. Okay.
The true.
Wow.
The true.
Okay, Cloud Atlas.
And that's the Cloud Atlas.
That was like a preschool teacher way of saying, now be true.
No, that's from Cloud Atlas, Tim. It's art. Okay.
It's art. Unlike Avatar.
Hey, have you guys seen Avatar? Have you guys seen Avatar?
You guys, did y'all rewatch it again when it came to theaters?
I did. Absolutely.
I know there.
I genuinely did.
First one.
So anyway, the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is nearing completion, so it seems like they're on track. But the Rocksteady co-founders are stepping down at the end of this year as well to pursue.
Won't affect this game at all. Yeah.
I think they announced that smartly at the same time, pretty much like, hey, Suicide Squad's on track, things are looking good. And the founders are deciding to move on to other things at the end of this calendar year. So I don't think there's anything big and nefarious happening. Who knows? But it's hard not to see anyone leave a company these days and not assume, so you hit on someone in the bathroom.
You got caught.
Yeah, right. Well, and it's never nice to see the lead creative people leave either.
Yeah, right.
Where it's like, it's like when the GTA guy, one of the Hauser brothers left, and it's well, he's the guy who wrote Red Dead Redemption 2 and Bully and GTA 4, all the games that we love.
Yeah.
So him leaving is problematic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is kind of that too, except when the doctors left for BioWare. I remember when BioWare never was good ever again after that.
I do remember that.
Yeah, that happened.
Y'all remember that?
So it's one of those things that it's rough to read, but there's so many talented people in the industry now. Like picking somebody up and being able to band together a good team is easier than ever, I think. So I don't know if it's the best sentence that we think it is, or I think it is.
The statement they issued and the studio issued, both didn't sound very concerned at all. It left me feeling
it didn't sound, going. Exactly. Feeling
because they still have founders that work there. Like one of them is going to take over the main, what's it called? He's just basically going to take over the role of studio director.
It truly sounded like they were just ready to move on to other phases of their lives.
Yeah. Which the industry it's pretty fast paced, man. I'm surprised people stay in it as long as they do, to be honest.
I mean, I could see that maybe circling back in the future to do something creative, maybe even gaming related, but they don't have to. It seems like, hey, we're turning the page on this part of our lives, but who knows?
Yeah, they seem to really. It actually happens a lot where I work too. People just get bored in their position really quick, some more than others, and they're like, I just want to go do a new. I'm like, all right. I mean,
I just want to go fish in Wyoming or whatever.
The doctors in BioWare left to go make beer, so
I see it with boredom.
Do stuff.
I also see it when someone just kind of feels like I'm not driven, and not even I'm bored, but it's like. I don't I feel like I've accomplished what I wanted to here, and my passion for this is gone, and I need to get somewhere else where that can kind of reignite that spark. Yeah. So there's all kinds of good reasons to leave a place, in addition to all the negative ones you usually hear about. There's a lot of negative ones. But speaking of BioWare being bad, we got an update on Dragon Age Dreadwolf.
I'm excited for this game. And strike from the record everything I just said. I'm so excited for this game.
But apparently the game is playable from beginning to end, so alpha status. But now they're just digging down into the relationships and the narrative cohesion with all the different paths that are going to be available to you. So
it's
about
it's goddamn time.
It's cool to hear that.
They just have to patch in the Star Wars DLC for that game.
Yeah, of course.
Connected to Fallen Order, right?
Yep,
connected
to
connected to that.
Okay,
yeah.
Long Fallen Dynasty has an official release date of March 3rd.
when nothing else is coming out, so that's perfect.
Yeah,
I'm glad that they picked that date specifically.
They were like, "What's the clearest slate of release dates?"
I'm just so glad they listened to and that's what the whole point of these alpha betas are supposed to be, that they listen to the players and were like, hey,
feedback.
Yeah, this is an amazing game. It really is. I played the hell out of that
alpha
demo.
To be listening to others, though, is it?
See, you said alpha beta there, referencing to technology. I get confused now. I don't know which one you're referring to. I have no idea. Like,
I mean, to be fair, that's probably the first time I've mentioned alpha beta and not meant it in a sexual way.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's why it was confusing. So.
But like, to listen to the feedback, because there was some things in that game where it was just like, I don't know how extensive you guys played the demo, that I think a lot of you guys, if you played it at launch, you'd be like, this game's too hard, it sucks. Because there was just a lot of, like, your healing was super slow.
I'll be
so when
totally
you're fighting...
transparent. I only played through to the first boss, and I thought it looked cool, played kind of cool, but was too difficult. I was like, this isn't my style of difficult. This is like punishing and just not fun difficult. So I was like, this probably won't be for me. So I kind of have written it off, but maybe I'll circle back to it.
No, I think this is like legit, like Sekiro, but maybe they'll have us level up better, like how I wanted it to be in Sekiro. So I really think this could be one of their best. But anyways, they listen to the fans. That's what I like. I like that they listen to us.
That's really the story here, is them adjusting to the feedback.
And that's cool. Awesome. Yeah, good for them.
I think that's great. We talked about The Witcher earlier, but The Witcher games are still a thing, right? We've heard that they're getting ready to launch a brand new set of Witcher stories in the future. You know, CD Projekt Red has already talked about that.
Taken away from the team, guys,
but
and they're
now,
doing this other.
Dan, that's exactly it, man. They're going to be taking away from all that progress because they're doing a remake of the original Witcher game.
Yep.
Listen, I don't care what people say. I'm excited about this one because
that's like a new game for me.
This game needs to have a second life. You know what I mean?
Because I played the first game.
I tried to play the first one.
I played it all the way through. It's not a super fun game experience, although the story was kind of interesting. It was enough for me to play the second game. The second game is so improved, it's unreal. Like the step up from 1 to 2 was unbelievable. And then of course now going back to play 2 after 3, there's elements of 2 that still work, but it's very clunky. So like each game took monumental steps forward.
2 still very
like they were a small, Polish studio when they made this game, but they actually were at the forefront of like really choice-based game, like RPG westernized gaming. You know.
Yep.
I remember when the first one came out, it won like a lot of awards, and this was when it was only on PC, and I didn't have a PC.
Had elaborate like romancing systems. It had elaborate choice systems. Like, you know, entire sections of the game would be cut out, like based on stuff that you made. You know, like choices.
This is exclusive to people that watch on YouTube.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, jeez. So yeah,
what does that mean?
It's exclusive content.
Exclusive.
This is a good move, man. You know,
it is a good move.
I am sad that we won't get Witcher 4 now because this game is coming out or whatever people are saying. But
it's replacing it, I think.
It's replacing it, sure. Yeah, all the elements are going to this game.
Well, I was really hoping that the Witcher studios would work on like Persona 5 Royal, like coming out on another system.
Yeah, sure.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Derek, I was really understand on a different platform, it's totally different. My gosh, you're so stupid.
For this remake, they tapped some smaller Polish studio, right? Like they're parenting a smaller Polish studio that's making Witcher.
Yeah, they're partnering with a ton of different developers to do.
So like
extra Witcher stuff they announced.
They're want to make franchises out of these games. They're reaching outside of their own teams to like make a lot of these games.
So I've started to.
Also, if they suck, they can be like, we didn't do it.
Yeah, it won't. It's the best scapegoat ever. It's like, we'll make sure we keep these stories in house now.
Kind of like Rockstar with the GTA trilogy enhanced or whatever. It's like, well, what's us, bro?
Yeah,
you know what's funny though is that like these are companies who they live or die based on bringing money in from the products they're creating. So is some dumb troll fan who looks out there and goes, well, you guys are going to slow down on Witcher 4 now? Are they going to go like, oh wait, we didn't think about that. This guy's right. Oh my gosh.
Right.
Like obviously they've planned it out, staffed for it, budgeted for it, and timelined this out. Clearly.
No, they didn't.
It's almost like we don't work there.
It wouldn't have been greenlit, you idiots. So like,
and I get a game greenlit. Like you have to appease to a board of people who are going to pay for this game, and you have to convince them. Like it's not a decision you make overnight where you're like, you know what, I think I'm going to make blah blah blah. Like,
Tim is unhinged.
Have to happen.
Tim has become unhinged.
Guys, I did some digging.
Just because.
Hold on, let me fix my mic real quick. Go ahead, Tim.
Because I think they add to us getting more new IP and these big companies that have to answer to boardrooms, giving them more leeway to be more creative because they're re-releasing stuff. Plus, there's games like, for instance, you guys have brought up before, I really want a new Onimusha. Well, how are you going to get a new Onimusha? By just saying I really want one? Or them re-releasing the game and people either buying it or not. If they buy it, it's text. And it's a safer test because they don't have to commit as much money.
And they did that with Onimusha too, and guess what? Nobody bought it, so we're not getting another one. So
I bought it, Kyle. I bought
it too.
Dude, I think the number of people that purchased Witcher 3 has financed 3 full games and all the remakes you could ever want. Like, they've got enough money to do all those.
And the DLC.
Yeah. And the DLC.
And guess what? That Cyberpunk game, 20 million units. They're doing all right.
Yeah, I think they're doing fine. They're doing fine.
They got a lot of money.
Yeah,
because they make good games. You can complain all you want about, like, well, Cyberpunk was broken, blah, blah, blah. It was still good, and it's still
excellent.
To a certain extent
worked. Yeah, I just had to.
Me.
Once I switched to PC where I could actually play it, I was like, this is a good game. I don't.
Yeah.
It's not to me at the level The Witcher is.
The Witcher is just a probably one of the best made games.
Well, and I just like that setting better. Like, I like the fantasy setting better than Cyberpunk. Between the
how dare you, sir?
Just personal preference. I just like.
He's right. He's right though. He's right.
I agree, but I also think the thing that really hurt it for me personally is going first person view.
Sword and Shield, you
dude,
weirdo.
I was actually gonna say those are my 2 things. Like, my personal preference is third person view. And then the setting wasn't my favorite. But even with those things, I think I put in about 10 hours into that game, and I keep talking about going, and I will go back and play that game start to finish again. But I still thought it was excellent. Like, I'd still categorize that game in the sphere of this is.
Go back to it when you upgrade your PC. So if you ever upgrade your video card, go back to it when you can turn ray tracing on and max it out and get it above. You better be above 60. For a second.
Tim,
you might as well not even play.
Hey, real quick,
Tim, don't we have the same card? Don't we both have a 3060?
No, you upgraded your card. I did not upgrade my card.
Oh, I thought you had a 30 series. Okay, all right, never mind.
No, he's beneath us.
You're a poor. I'm sorry.
I'm a poor.
Oh, yeah. He's had that card for like 2 months.
Why don't you just play it on Poor Pass, buddy? Why don't you just play
at this point, stop playing video games, really.
Yeah, I know.
What's even the point?
Speaking of PC stuff, I actually might have to get a new monitor too. Maybe you guys know about this, but so I've got a Samsung 1440p, the curved gaming monitor. It wasn't super expensive. I think it was like a $400 one. It's very nice for that level of gaming. It's pretty much 2K gaming, and it works great. But I've noticed recently when I turn it on, it's almost like it needs to warm up because it'll have all these lines all over it. And then eventually they go away on their own. There's nothing I can do to make them go away. And I noticed recently they're staying longer. I'm like, crap, does this mean this thing's going to die? Do I have to get it serviced? Do I need to just give it a good, do I need to give it a good cleaning? Or is it like, no, I need to start budgeting for another?
I think one thing you can do is you can do one of those YouTube videos, like leave the room, like turn it on and do this and then leave the room. But you turn on one of those YouTube videos that blinks, you full screen it and it blinks different colors.
Oh.
And you might want to what might be dying is some of your pixels. You might be getting pixel lines that are dying.
Because right now it's perfect and clear. It just took a while. Like when I turned on the computer this afternoon to get ready to record with you guys, it had a weird overlay of lines. And I have 3 settings. Underneath you can kind of save your own presets underneath at the bottom. So I have one of the settings is at 144 hertz refresh rate, and the brightness is kind of in the middle. And so that's best for gaming. But that's the one that takes the longest for those lines to go away. If I switch it to 120 hertz mode, and it's actually a little bit brighter, but the refresh rate's a little lower, that clears up within like 3 or 4 minutes. So I don't know what it is, man. It just seems like something in there is some kind of the warm up process. Something about it is a problem because it's not like it's broken. There's no broken pixels. There's nothing obvious, at least. It just seems like some element in the actual mechanism to get it running.
I would always leave yours at 120 because I think when you move it to 144, if I remember correctly, I know I have to do it on my monitor, it uses extra resources, and it actually, I forgot what it is. because I did the research when I bought my monitor. And by the way, I have the same exact monitor you have.
Overall, it's been good until this. Yeah. Overall, it's been good. Yeah.
But that was the original one I used. Mine still works fine, but I don't use it as much. I just use it for work. But there was something that said on my 4K one I'm using now, where they were like, you can set it to 144, but when you do that, there's something, it takes away from something. I forgot what it was, and it's better to just keep it at 120 unless you need that extra 24.
No, I actually played all of Plague's Tale on 120, and it looked and ran great. I know I'm just an idiot for not recognizing all the frames and stuff, but it looked and ran beautifully at 120 instead of 144. Yeah. So anyway, I just thought that was it might be somewhere I have to buy a new monitor here in the near future. That's okay.
Possibly.
Go 4K. Well, get your card first, then go 4K.
That my problem is that like a simple let me replace this monitor, let me save a few $100s and just replace this will probably turn into let me do a full computer upgrade and buy everything.
Sure.
So I'm just waiting for my bonus, and if I get full maxed out bonus, you guys are gonna see a post of me with like an OLED 4K 42-inch monitor and a 4090 PC. Like, you're gonna be like, what happened to your 3090 PC? It's still here.
Can you sit that close to 42 inches of monitor without burning your eyes out?
Yeah, 42 inches is fine. Once you get to 48
That's what she
inches,
said. That's what she said. That's what she said.
Okay.
Wow, as if we didn't hear the first time.
You got so excited.
Hey, Dan, I don't know what you say. I totally missed what you said.
Maybe it's just the positioning of how you have your desk set up, because this is at 27-inch game, the one that I have. So I think it's the same as yours, right?
Mine's 27-inch.
Yeah, so this is 27, and so like I feel like a monitor too much bigger than this, I would kind of be needing to move my head a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but that's just because about like my desk setup. I'm relatively close to the screen. Like I'm probably
right.
I'm probably 2 feet from the screen, and I think I would need to back up if it's a bigger screen.
Well, I watched a lot of reviews because you guys have your things you get into. Mine is monitors and TVs. Yeah. I do all my. I did some
digging. Yeah.
Did you? All right. Yeah.
And 42 inches is basically, again, it does matter about your setup, but that's like your max. Like, you don't want to go above it. And there's a lot of monitors now that are doing 48 inches. Like, for instance, the C1/C2 have 48-inch versions of it, which I was going to buy one of those. But the feedback I got, and I try to use my 55-inch C1 as a monitor, and it worked. But yeah, you got to push back because you're like, and that's unnecessary. But
if you have to look to your left to see how much health you have, it's too big of a screen. Like if you have to go like this, like, okay, that's how much. That's too much.
Well, the bigger the screen, the hotter it is too. So imagine running a 3090 PC that, oh my gosh, this thing like burns my room up, and then having a huge like OLED monitor. That I'm gonna have to have like, it's gonna be a sauna. I'm gonna be like 10 pounds. So maybe I'll do it. Lose some weight. What's your diet plan? Yeah, 4090 PC.
I sweat while gaming.
I stay in there 14, 16 hours a day. Boom.
That's what I do. Hey guys, I don't know if you saw this, but the new trailer for Marvel's Ant-Man and Wasp, Quantumania, is out. So I did watch that trailer, and I just want to get this out of the way. I think it looks really cool, and I'm intrigued by it. And I'm curious to see how they tie the pieces together with Kang and all the other pieces that they're clearly going to tie in. I'm very intrigued by it, even though I've been on the record saying this isn't my personal favorite, all the multiverse stuff, but that doesn't mean I'm not interested. I want to see where it goes. That being said, that meme that connected it to Spy Kids 3D made me laugh so hard.
Yeah, I was laughing pretty hard at that too.
Because I was like, it does look like that.
I mean, right? Like it's
a budgeted version of that. Like a high budget version of that.
Yeah. Right.
Can I ask you Can I ask you guys something? Was there something about like, I don't know, it's really hard to explain, but there was something like not crisp about the trailer. There seemed like almost like there was something visually like kind of funky going on for me.
I only watched it once, so I don't know.
I think I watched it on my phone.
Yeah, I just watched it once on my computer.
Okay. Yeah, because I watched it on my monitor, but it honestly, like, it almost like it's still like really good CG in the background, but it almost felt like it was like a little off in the background, and then like they were like it was more noticeable that they were on a green screen. I
think they're using the volume for this too, so there might actually be a lot of like, it looks like they're obviously on a set of LED TVs, you know,
okay,
kind of like the Mando or something like that. I think I remember hearing they used the volume for some of the stuff, but I could be wrong too.
Yeah. But I don't know. There was something that like I noticed. But
ever since Guardians of the Galaxy, a lot of the different Marvel franchises want to grab some of that kind of like Trapper Keeper 3D look in some of their scenes.
Their space backdrops or whatever.
A little bit of that. Even Avengers Endgame, Infinity War and Endgame had elements of that just kind of had
like,
that.
When they're on Titan, like that, I had that Trapper Keeper.
Doctor Strange, the first one and the second one.
Planet.
Yeah. I had that Trapper Keeper too, man. It's the best. Anyway, but all that to say, that sounds like I'm crapping on. I'm really not. I thought it looked really interesting. I'm curious to see where the story goes. I'm excited for that.
I think Jonathan Majors is awesome. I'm so excited for him.
To me, it just looks fun. Like, I mean, I'm
fun.
not
I want
over
to
the moon
be
about it. But
the first two Ant-Man movies were both fun, not amazing. They were both fun movies, right?
Yeah, fun movies you kind of forget about after seeing it.
And I know Michael Peña's style of humor isn't for everybody, but I've always found him to be funny with his dumb smiling character that he's always like. Yeah,
I didn't see him in this trailer at all. I wonder if the henchman that Scott keeps.
I didn't see him either, but
he's a real Avenger now. He can't be hanging out with hooligans.
Well, I'm referencing that he had some. He had some stuff going on, like personal stuff, like
so maybe he's not in it.
Like cancel him type of stuff. I think.
For Michael Peña.
Yeah,
well, he's a Scientologist. And
did everyone find out he was a Scientologist?
So.
I don't know. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember there being something.
Yeah, I mean, I've always found it weird. I'm like, you're gonna introduce your new big bad like an Ant-Man? That's kind of weird.
It's interesting.
But maybe they'll pull it off. I don't know. Maybe we'll realize the quantum realm has like a bigger thing to do with like.
Or maybe we actually get introduced to the big bad surprisingly in Black Panther, which I don't think. But what if we do? Maybe they'll.
Namor is king. Hashtag Namor is king.
There you go.
I like that. The quantum realm definitely has Bill Murray in it. I saw him in the trailer.
You see Bill Murray. It kind of looks like he's dressed like Goldblum's character. Like
I thought that
like
too.
An ancestor.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
We are brothers. We both talk weird. Huh.
Yeah, I definitely got strong Ragnarok and Guardians of the Galaxy vibes and Doctor Strange vibes. Like, there's definitely a shift in aesthetic over time in these Marvel movies, and they're and some people love it, some people hate it. I'm more in the like, if it's a good story, I'm fine with whatever setting. Like,
same here.
I don't have a strong preference that I dislike it or like it. I'm just like, tell me a good story, and the background's cool. That's fine.
I'm a fake fan. I don't read really comic books, so it's like I don't know if I get to dictate like where they get to go.
I'll read what I mean?
Like, right.
I'm not that invested enough where I'm like, well, they should do the Dino World.
That's a good way to put it. That's a really good way to put it.
Other people have a bigger dog in that fight, So
there you go. I'm not invested enough to care beyond like, all right, hope this is a fun watch.
I know he wasn't in the trailer, but I know MODOK's supposed to be in this movie, and I'm wondering. Yeah, they're throwing a lot in this movie. To it. So
Patton Oswalt will voice
Patton
Oswalt's back as MODOK.
Patton Oswalt, man, I hope it is Patton Oswalt. That'd be funny.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That show is really funny, actually.
What I heard. Hey Dan, I'm gonna throw this one to you. Parasite Eve maybe getting teased.
So I'm actually Kyle also seemed pretty happy about that. I'm actually a little less in the know with that game, but it's exciting though because it's one of those cult classics that SquareSoft had back in the day, PlayStation 1 era, that a lot of people really like the first one. I think maybe the second one's a little mixed.
Yeah. As it goes on, it felt like it got more and more mixed.
Yeah. Because then it was PSP. Third Birthday was PSP.
Yeah, Third Birthday was PSP, which is like a completely different. It's like not even a horror game anymore.
Yeah.
If it ever was, But,
sure. It's got like a little
remember it super clearly, but in my head it had like elements of Final Fantasy and Resident Evil sort of mixed together. I have no idea if that's
so like tank controls kind of like Resident Evil, but like then you kind of basically like a battle happens and like she's standing there and there's like a little bit of menu stuff, not quite exactly like Final Fantasy, but you're not like shooting real time. It is like a turn-based type of combat, right? So
in my mind that's where they kind of mix those two things together. But the rumor is coming from Square trademarking the name symbiogenesis, which is the process where two separate organisms merge into one, which is the foundation of the Parasite Eve story. So that's kind of where this all started, was them trademarking this name. And that's a pretty big rumor at the moment. I don't think it's been officially confirmed in any way.
Yeah, I've been because I've been doing, like you guys know, the most more streaming, and I've been meeting some new individuals, some Final Fantasy nerds, and a couple of them were playing Parasite Eve because I just hadn't seen the game in like years, and I was like, oh yeah, this is one that I definitely want to like. I'll stream this at some point because like I always wanted to play it. It was just something that I completely just passed by or whatever, never got it. But yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting world. It seems like a cool story and interesting characters. So.
Yep. I'm pretty sure I have this one on the Vita with PS1 classics, I think, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
Because I think the first one was PS1, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe the first two was the second one PS1.
PS2 was the second one.
Yeah,
okay.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah. Got it.
Which I didn't play too. I played the PSP one and the PlayStation 1 one.
Okay. All right. Well, Fallout 4 is getting some next-gen upgrades, improving the resolution and frames, of course, because otherwise you can't play it anymore at 30. You can't play that. You can't be playing Fallout 4 without. Yeah. That's going to be. It's a free upgrade coming next year. So if you own the game already on any of the, whether it's PC or PS5 or Xbox Series consoles, then you'll get this free upgrade for Fallout 4 next year. There you go. Be excited, I guess, if that's your thing.
I'm very excited.
We talked a lot about Bayonetta 3, but just wanted to talk about this storyline with Hellena Taylor. I just heard Kyle. That's most of us as we see these headlines coming through. We're like, oh, really? This again?
Yeah. How does this story keep going?
The most triggering story in my entire life. But I don't know what side to take.
So don't forget, she initially claimed in her first video, her very feel bad for me, let's boycott the game together video, was they offered me $4,000. What a slap in the face. This is so insulting. There's no way around that. That's what she said. She didn't say, part of the offer was only $4,000 or they only offered $4,000 per session. She didn't say any of that. She just said they offered me $4,000. And
most people did a lot of digging, right? Correct.
They did a lot of digging.
I actually did on this one.
Hence the digging.
But she actually confirmed that as reports are coming out from other people, actually she was offered more than that. It sounds like it was more like $15,000 because of they were going to pay her $4,000 and change for each session, and so all these extra details started to leak out that she's not being accurate. Well, she confirmed that actually it was $15,000 initially. Which was within the union asking rate. So nothing was done
over. It was over the asking rate.
There you go. It was over the asking rates. So nothing was done inappropriately as far as we can see. It's not like Platinum Games or whoever else was involved. I don't know if it's them directly or if there's some agency on their behalf. Whoever was negotiating the contract with her didn't do something wrong. She just didn't like it. And that's kind of what we're coming down to. She felt like, I'm enough part of this franchise now. You should be offering me fill in the blank compensation, whether it's percentage of sales or whatever.
There was a rumor about getting percentage of sales, and she shot that down, but obviously her credibility is out the window now.
Yeah, it's hard to really get a read on what
she was actually offered up to 20,000, guys. Don't forget that. She was offered $5,000 more, so it had gotten up to 20,000 total for this job, which was would
have taken that job.
Which was going to be less work than the first game was. So at this point I'm going I'm sorry if you don't feel like that's enough, but don't pretend like it was a fifth.
Sounds like she wanted to live off of it for years.
Well, if you look you looked up her.
That's not how those jobs work. I mean,
but you just looked up her her past.
She's done nothing.
She hadn't done anything big in years, so I totally believe that I was like, I'm gonna cash in on this for the next
Whereas
3 years
you look at these other ones, like the guy who voices Lee and who's Rodin in the Bayonetta games, as well as even guys like
credits a year.
even someone as like Jennifer Hale or Nolan North or Troy Baker, look at their IMDb list. They are in a ton of games, even stuff that maybe is lower profile. They're getting gigs and they're working and they're honing their craft. And she's doing pretty much nothing in that space. She might be working really hard in other areas that we aren't aware of. That's fine. But in the voice acting realm, she's not doing much of anything. And so
it's a simple her looking up what she believes is the amount that these creators get for this game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then going, I'm a big part of this, so I deserve more. And not realizing that
I totally
while you're voice acting it and you matter, you aren't the creator. You aren't taking a risk. Did you put money down for this? Did you make any sacrifice to create this game? Did you put any extra hard work? Let's say she worked 20 hours on the first game and maybe 20 hours on the second game. 20 hours? Dude, I worked 20 hours in 2 days. 20 hours? These developers, these guys actually creating the game are the ones, if you're going to pay extra money because of how much money this franchise makes, It goes to
Give
them.
It to the devs, yeah.
It goes to the investors. Whether you like investors or not, they're the ones that are creating the content. They're investing. They're taking risk. You always get paid more for whoever's taking a risk. She's not taking a risk. She's not doing anything. And she's just looking at a number and going, I'm worth more. No, you're not. You're replaceable.
I think that's where the
Henry Cavill.
I think that's where the conversation gets nuanced, though, because it's like, all right, so like, so this game's what, 13-ish hours, the third one, and then the other ones are around like 8 or whatever.
But
like,
she's not the main character the whole time. It's very much.
Yeah, now she shares the stage.
So like, I guess in her head, it's like, well, I'm main character, right? But then it's also like, so these are kind of shorter games. So obviously, she's not physically putting in as many hours as say someone who's doing an RPG that's 100 hours. Like,
plus
so that person
reuse, like, for instance. They'll have her record. They use that over and over, like in a fighting situation. She's just going to do that. As far as actual lines that she delivers, especially on this third one, it's going to be much smaller. So there's a lot of arrogance and ignorance from her, and I'm not going to get political and stuff, but it's going around in a lot of areas, the sports world, politics, everything, where people are demanding more for doing nothing. And they think just because you're rich, you should pay me more. That's not how the world works. And I'm glad she's getting destroyed, even by people I wouldn't even have thought would be against her. That's why I said this is the most triggering story in the world, because I'm like, I absolutely hate Jason Strider. He might be the person I hate more than anything. And yet I find myself going... I'm finding myself going, oh my God.
We all agree on something.
It really is a united cause now. Everybody's going, okay, Hellena Taylor sounds terrible as a person and as somebody, a negotiator, apparently. And everybody's kind of united on any political or whatever spectrum.
It's true.
We're all kind of united now.
I agree.
Thanks,
and it's funny too. She's trying to be like, well, they're all lying. They're trying to discredit me. They're lying because I didn't get offered 4,000 for 5 sessions of work, per session. And it's like, yes, but you did admit you were offered 20,000 total. And guess what? 4 times 5 is. It's 20,000. So like
the way that she's trying to weasel out of it, it's like the silence is golden method would have worked here. Yeah.
Well, then she also tweeted again after like, oh, like looks like I've kind of started a thing, and then she's like, well, donate to these charities instead. And one of them was like some Kentucky anti-abortion like
I saw this
thing.
Yeah.
Like,
that's
it's like, oh man,
Strider really is invested in this story.
Yeah, he tweeted that.
Absolutely.
This is what makes it funny because a lot of people who jump quickly on board with a cause, who are going to be very pro-choice typically, and they're the ones who are like, yes, let's boycott this thing, anti-whatever, corporate. And then now all of a sudden they realize, like, wait a minute, she is asking us to donate to this company that's very against this other
push. They're like, wait, fuck.
So
Strider got us.
It is
now
very
I gotta
funny.
delete my tweets that like took her side.
Watching all these gymnastics people are trying to do to like support the right things and be for a cause. I don't know.
And this is where like I would probably like if I sat in a room with her, and to be fair, I know some of you, Jeff, probably thinks I'm more political than I really am. I'm not really political. I really don't give a shit. I think both parties are complete trash. So that's as political as you're going to get from me. But if I sat in a room, I would probably agree with this Hellena probably more than I would a Jason Strider. But I will still...
Just you mean like a cultural conversation, I mean? Yeah.
But I will objectively side with Strider over her because I'm going to call her BS. I know what she's doing. She is purposely manipulating and leaving out information to try to manipulate people. And that is wrong. It's disgusting.
Well, and it hurts the people who are voice actors who say legitimately are perhaps being underpaid and are probably doing more hours or putting in more effort into the, like, I wanted to add also to what I was saying earlier, like let's say, for example, Kyle, like with Dragon Ball Z, like them screaming, like what they do in that show, like what they put their vocal cords through is like way more intense than some other roles, right? So I would say arguably that person should get paid more.
Your tool of the trade is using your voice, and if you're going in there and doing really demanding voices, like anime would always be demanding because you're inflecting, like your throat, and like people, if your throat goes out, or you put wear and tear on your throat, you're taking money off the back end of your career.
Yeah, you do one Kamehameha scene and you're done for the week.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's right. That's right.
There is a lot of pre-training that probably goes into it too, where like you're warming up for an hour off the clock before you even show up to start getting paid.
It's true.
just so you don't break, like or mess up anything. You're
injure your vocal cords,
Yep. No, I get it.
So
I get it.
yeah.
But it sounds like there's been a lot of good changes where they're, everything's very unionized and controlled, and there's a standard and everything like that. So to cry wolf, like y'all were saying, when there's nothing going on here, but there could be situations going on elsewhere that now are completely silent and deaf because this is all we hear now. It creates a really bad thing, especially if some changes have been made and they've been positive. Now we're setting ourselves back and having a conversation that doesn't need to be had again if this problem is already fixed. And if it's not fixed, now we're focused on one person who's lying about it.
Yes, exactly.
Instead of fixing the problem,
just like me too.
It's just one of those classic situations where like what she did was wrong. It was selfish. She shouldn't have done it. She did it for selfish motivations, clearly. And it had nothing to do with helping anybody else, but she wanted to make it seem like, she wanted whatever. So like it was clearly very selfish, and people didn't want to recognize that until she stood in the face of, or she was supporting an organization that stood in the face of something that they found to be important. Then they switched. That's where it got real funny to me. I'm like, you wouldn't
Soccer
acknowledge
moms
the
everywhere,
facts.
bro.
It was like
Soccer
Karen's.
moms.
It was like a big Karen battle. Is what was happening. So.
Hey, speaking of Dragon Ball Z, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
Aaron's and Kevin's everywhere.
Let's wrap this up with a couple more headlines before we get out of here. I know we've gone long, but this has been good. PlayStation Plus November games are going to include the Lego Harry Potter collection as well as Neo 2. So one super easy game and one super tough one. So
all right.
There you go. Actually, one super easy collection of games. Laura Bailey has said she would absolutely return to play Abby from Last of Us 2 if asked. So if there was another Last of Us game or spinoff or anything where she's asked to be Abby again, she'd happily do that. Which is, to me, that's notable because she got so much backlash.
She's so brick.
She got so much backlash for that character, even though it was like she was playing a role that someone else wrote for her. You idiots, shut up. So like anyway, she got a lot of backlash for it. Got a lot of hate for that character because of how that story unfolds, how that character unfolds. But anyway, I think it's good that she'd be willing to do that because for those of us who kept an even approach and actually approached that game and story with an open mind, that was a really not only bold choice for the story, but she's a great character. Whether you like her or hate her doesn't matter. She's a very compelling character, start to finish. She really is.
It's such a progressive game, and that's why I'm so proud that I support it.
I
fully support it. I'm bold for supporting it.
I hate you so much.
You're something, I tell you.
What she didn't tell you is
they
only offered her $2,000 for that role. So
and dinner, kidding. And like a gift card
and dinner. She got dinner, to Bennigan's. I like that. That was a good choice. That was a good restaurant.
Bennigan's.
It's like they don't even exist anymore.
They also gave her a gift card to Kmart.
This is a Shroot buck, right? 1,000 Shroot punks.
Two other pieces of Naughty Dog news. One is that the Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection is so far, as far as just as Steam count goes, okay, I know it's not only on Steam, but as far as Steam concurrent players go, it's the lowest for a recent Sony PC game launch, including things like Days Gone and Horizon and Spider-Man. Those all had a higher concurrent count on their launch weekends. A lot could be said about this. It could be because the game is, I think, the oldest of all the ones that have been released so far. The other ones were all within like a 2 or 3 year release window. Days Gone, Spider-Man, Horizon, those were all relatively new games, and Uncharted 4 was now 6 years old, so that could be part of it. I think it's more to do with the release window that they chose.
I think it has to do with the fact that it released during this wave of new games, and the Legacy of Thieves collection. Didn't that just come out earlier this year? Like, so all of us that own a PlayStation would have already played it, most of it anyway, and gotten that experience.
Now you're asking to play it again, a few months later.
Well, I can almost guarantee you that this stat's going to change next week when Sackboy wins that one. It's not going to
when it has the lower concurrent.
What if that game has the most concurrent players?
It's actually out now, so I'm curious. We'll have to look to see how.
I actually bought it. Don't ask me why. Stop. I don't know.
Because you like sax and you're a boy.
But what's interesting is that this is actually this last weekend. Steam had their biggest ever weekend for concurrent player count since they've been keeping track of that, of 30 million. And of course, Uncharted was not a driver of those numbers. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting, and we'll see if that. I don't think it was like a poor performance. It wasn't like embarrassing. It was just notable that it was the lowest so far of the other Sony games.
Interesting.
Also, Naughty Dog is apparently working with a new San Diego Sony studio on a beloved franchise, although we don't know what that is. We don't know if it's a Naughty Dog franchise or a Sony. We don't know, but there's a job listing that kind of uncovered. There's something that Naughty Dog's going to help.
I took it to mean it's a Naughty Dog franchise, but
that's how I'm assuming.
I don't know what else it could be other than Uncharted. I mean, sorry, Crash, I don't really care. Is that even a Naughty Dog thing?
Yeah.
Or am I thinking of Jack and Daxter? Okay.
It's well, it was Naughty Dog, but then Activision like owns the rights to.
But it could be. I was going to say it could be something they're resurrecting, like a Jack and Daxter, but.
Hold on, did you just say Crash Bandicoot and don't care? Gaston just had a heart attack. He had a heart attack.
We care about that game.
He just died.
Gaston, we really care about Crash. We really care about
it. Keeps you here. We should bring it at least once a week. You know.
I mean, to be fair, he is probably our greatest fan.
Yeah, that's
big time.
Our only fan. He's our only fan.
And we still shit on him. I know I shit on him all the time.
Just know that to me, it's always going to be crap Bandipoop because it's terrible.
Also, that's just kind of fun to say.
Yeah,
it was. That is fun. That is fun.
Crash 4 is legitimately a good video game. But,
it is.
For people with terrible taste, yeah.
That's our quote. No, Tim yet met our quota. All right, let's not.
Crash 4 is a good game.
Our weekly quota of saying something good about Crash. There it is.
Crash 4 is a good game. All right. Microsoft apparently is making a lot of money, you guys. Don't worry about them. They're doing great. They're making a lot of money.
You're a liar.
But not only are they making a ton of money, but Phil Spencer is like, hey, we're making a lot of money, everybody, but don't worry, price increases are on their way. Just not for this holiday season. You're good for now. But he's saying that game prices, subscription prices, like it's his way of kind of letting everyone know things are going to get expensive.
I have a theory on this if you guys care. It won't take long to say.
Yeah.
Here's what I think he's hinting at or foreshadowing. No, prices are not going to increase right now. They're going to increase as soon as Bethesda big hitters start dropping. So when Starfield,
I think that's
any Fallout, anything like that, where he can start going, because that's how they're going to advertise. They're going to be like, you have a full catalog of all these big hits.
Yeah.
Then they can start charging. What is it? $15 a month. They're going to start charging $20 a month.
And they're going to start looking at it. They might add a tier where you get early access to brand new games, and they might have.
I don't think they'll even complicate it like that. I think they're going to say you pay $20, or you don't have it. And because you're paying $20, they're going to do this. I guess my point, what I was trying to say, I didn't say it very well. They're going to do this after games like Starfield, all these big hitters, so that their collection of games, you can justify $20 a month.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I could see that. But again, it's not, to me, it just depends on what that goes up to. What kind of increase are we talking about? Are we talking about $30 a month? That's crazy. Are we talking about going up to 20? I still think 20 a month, especially the way you can get deals on it, isn't the end of the world for Game Pass itself. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Everything's getting more expensive though, so it's not a shock to see games also get more expensive. All right, we are way over time, but this has been a lot of fun. A lot of good games are out right now. Make sure you guys go play them, go try them out. There's a lot of stuff for different tastes as well. So whether it's you're the RPG person, action games, if you like stuff that's darker or creepier, if you like squelching noises, you got Scorn, you got everything. Okay, you got all the games.
Or if you like crap Bandicoot poop or whatever Jeff said.
Yep.
That's been out for a while, but yes, you could play that too. Yep. All right. Well, thank you guys for being here. Thank you all for listening and watching. We're out.